This week, episode 256 of Stogie Geeks. The first section, we are going to take some time out and talk about house sticks. And what we mean by that is cigars that started off exclusively available in particular cigar shops and how they tend to expand within their market. And we're going to talk about the blends and our experiences with smoking these house sticks. And then if everything works out technologically, we are going to interview Tony Mendoza. He is a full-time soldier, part-time filmmaker, and intense cigar enthusiast. He's completed his second feature film entitled Life in the Hole. It can be found on Amazon right now. He's got another movie coming out in 2018. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about our sticks of the week right here on this week's edition of the Stogie Geek Show.
This is a Security Weekly production. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where cigars burn slow, ashes fall fast, and cocktails flow steady. It's the Stogie Geek Show. Hat tip, can we play it?
Yeah, one more time.
Can I hear a...
Yes!
Yeah!
Enjoy the dirt.
Guests and friends here in studio, including a regular cast of characters, Mr. Joe Hollywood to my right.
How are you?
That's awesome. Joe D's here. Rain Man's here. What's going on, Joe D?
Roundtable discussions.
Havana Cigar Club, located in Warwick, Rhode Island, is a great place to enjoy a drink and a cigar. Stogie Geeks listeners can find a $5 off coupon on our website by clicking the HCC logo.
Episode 256, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stogie Geek Show. I am your host this week, Joe Hozempa, sitting in the hot seat. Helping me out is Joe D. How are you, sir?
Very good, man. Happy to be here as always.
All I got to tell you is welcome home. That's my take to you. You had a very good experience, we've heard, a couple weeks ago.
Very exciting, man. Great. Hellacious week. Very exciting.
Absolutely.
Put a lot of work in.
Absolutely. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Why don't we start and let the listeners know what we are having?
Right now we're smoking the Southern Draw Coduelo Fiathorn, Ecuadorian Habano Rosado wrapper, Mexican San Andreas binder, Nicaraguan filler. It's a 5x58 box press Perfecto and double San Andreas. And two identical cigars. The premise with this particular cigar is that no one should be smoking alone. So two friends, two foes, whatever you got, sit down, enjoy, commensurate on what you think of about that cigar.
Absolutely. Bring up a valid point.
Settle it like gentlemen.
A lot of the world's problems could be happening if you turn on any news channel, pick one, and discuss it over a cigar. I'm sure the world would be a better place.
Special stick, I figured, perfect opportunity for the two of us to sit down and enjoy.
Absolutely. Before we leave the series of shows this week, I have last week for episode 255, we had the interview with Robert from Southern Draw.
Yep, Robert Holt.
If you've missed that interview, just go to StogieGeeks.com, check it out. It's last week's episode.
Riveting interview.
Amazing on so many levels. Business, personal, culture. It was a great interview. So I know this time of year we're all getting tugged in all different directions. We're shopping. We have to-do list. Business is getting crazy. It's wrapping up. But if you've missed the Stogie Geeks episode 255, check it out. And then also in the other segment, I was returning some emails live for the Stogie Geeks listener.
Little mailbag segment.
That had taken the time out to email joeh@stogiegeeks.com. I wanted to get to 2 emails, and what happened was I was on the set, and I thought I did them, and then when I got off, so I do, because one of them is both of them are really interested, and it's funny because when I did the segment, I started out with the intentions of returning these 2 emails first.
Right.
And when the spotlight came on and I started going through my motions, and next thing you know, I was saying, okay, we'll see you next week. And I got off the set. So I do want to take like a quick 2 minutes because I think that the reason why is most of the Stogie Geeks listeners, there is a theme when they email me, and we found a quick navigational workaround for that. So either this segment or either after the next segment or Sticks of the Week.
Nice.
I do want to return just 2 quick more, because if we do a mailbag, again, most likely it wouldn't happen till the last week of January or so, because we got some stuff booked and holiday schedules to get through and all of that stuff. So, and also I do want to take time out to wish the Stogie Geeks listener, and you can too, whatever holiday you celebrate, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Enjoy and be safe.
I'm looking forward to 2018. I can tell you that I had originally wanted to release an announcement for this show. I'm still working out the logistics. So if you want to sign up for the Stogie Geeks newsletter, all you have to do is go to cigarshed.com, click on the sign up for the newsletter, and then it'll go through with the announcement, because I expect that announcement to be made. It most likely will be made now with the schedule via social media first, and then we're gonna announce it. And I don't want it to be like ex post facto and all that stuff.
Right.
So there you go. And if you want to wish the Stogie Geeks listener the thing, it's
As always,
it's definitely a reflective time of the year.
It is.
For a lot of people, either in businesses, to say, I can't believe that we were carving pumpkins and drinking wine and eating turkey, and here we are already. It did go by fast.
Pulling up with a good cigar, and that's definitely the best forum for reflection.
Absolutely.
And pull up a chair with a friend.
Yes,
Enjoy.
absolutely. This cigar, I always compare to everything to what I like, right? Compared to the Jacob's Ladder, right? Like it's coming right out of my mouth, right? It's certainly milder, but I mean, we're getting, I'm getting a woodsy cedar note, subtle.
Yep.
Very well balanced so far. So we'll check in on that. What are you getting from this?
Absolutely.
Well, have you had any of these? This is the first time that I've had one.
This is the second one I've had.
Okay.
Gifted by Mr. Robert Holt, purposely for the show to enjoy. And it's a more ramped up flavor profile, but typically what you get with the Phaethon, that cocoa, the leather, it just smokes incredibly well. And it's a great stick.
Yep. If I had to come up with an adjective, so far, it would be mildly meaty, just like how the Jacob's Ladder, right?
Yep.
Just like how the Jacob's Ladder has that meatiness to it.
Yep.
This has a mild component. It's very
tops out,
meaty
kind
so
of
far.
that medium plus, ramps up a little bit towards the end. You'll get some of that plus will be kicking in.
And what did you pour us to pair with it?
A little Jefferson. We've been on a Jefferson kick last couple weeks. Goes down smooth, especially stressful holiday time.
Yeah.
Beautiful marriage with the cigar.
Jefferson's and co-hosting together the Stogie Geek show. It's a good way to spend a Monday.
There it is. Oh, yeah.
This segment, we're going to take the time out to talk to you about what cigar shop owners in the industry call house sticks. And what that usually means is if you go to a certain cigar shop and travel around, right? Sometimes the owner of the cigar shop had gotten so entrenched in the industry and not only enjoyed the industry and, being a retail shop and doing that, they get so entrenched, and there's a point that comes up of, hey, maybe I should come up with my own blend, or maybe I should come up with my own brand.
Little dabble. Sometimes they're gems, sometimes, there's hits and misses, certainly.
Absolutely. And what I like about that, all right, from a business perspective, okay, right, I can't get out of my mind, right, without doing Stogie Geek show. Well, come to think of it, right, from a business perspective, any retail shop owner, like any other business, should have multiple revenue streams coming in ideas streams there. I know outside of Stogie Geeks with my business, I always ask for my customers' wish list. In other words, what aren't you good at yet, or what aren't you known for yet in your business, your respective business field,
right,
but do pretty well, and because that could be a pivot point or a line of focus and whatnot. Yep. So when we first came up with the idea, of course, me being candid with the audience, that's the first thing that happened to my head. Oh, it's genius, right? It's a great idea. But then we're gonna talk a little bit about the business part. That'll probably come from me, maybe, right? And then Joe's gonna take the time out to talk about some sticks that he has in mind that he's used for house sticks.
From a consumer perspective, because in visiting all these various humidors and getting outside of the state a little bit now, it's one of those things I like to reach for. I like to see what they have personally to offer. The house sticks, sometimes you find some of those gems, and the migration of maybe it was kind of just like a an afterthought initially, but every now and then you're gonna hit on some of those gems, like the local shop here at Churchill's. They have the La Prave. There's certainly some good sticks. Up in New Hampshire last week, Castro's and Two Guys. They both have numerous sticks.
Okay. Do you know the names of them?
Just the Maduro option, the Connecticut, but it's Castro's back room, and then from Two Guys, they've got several Garofalo sticks.
Oh yeah,
Dave Garofalo, the owner of Two Guys.
I've actually had those, and those are well priced, and we'll get to the to the individual stick proportion.
That also factors in that price point, very reasonable, and just another option for the consumers.
Absolutely. So what sticks did you specifically have in mind? I mean, I know you had mentioned the La Prave by Churchill Smoke Shop and Lounge that they're located over in East Providence. Interesting stick. Have you had it?
I have. I'm actually several boxes in for the Maduro. I think the Maduro plays a little bit better, but for a cheaper house stick, it's not a throwaway by any means. It's very, very enjoyable, constructed well, and I think a lot of these house sticks are hitting the benchmark for construction, flavor. It's a nice option to have, nice cheap option to have, and supporting the house, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I remember when that concept first came up. I was involved within the conversation. Yep. And it's amazing. Do you know which factory it came from or anything like that, or no?
No.
Okay, I do. So I'll continue. With that being said, I remember when
Casada factory.
Nope. Okay. When Black Label. Remember?
Yes.
On a bunch of episodes, probably the past 4 or 5 episodes, you have heard from my mouth saying, a lot of some of these local shops are getting into the newer Black Label stuff. We have done our research in our Stogies of the Week. We have been reviewing them, especially with the latest and greatest by them locally here, that Santa Morte, right? Like, and me specifically saying that, this is a different profile from them. And if this is what they're going to come out with 2018, if that's the direction of where they're going, I'm pretty excited. But peel back that, couple years ago, I believe it was 3 off the top of my head, they were talking about that. And Brian, the shop owner, had a options, because when you're in the industry, all these reps and factories and from doing events, that you have the ability to go to your door. And the profile had done very, very well at that particular store.
Right.
And so, they've done that. And then, again, the sales rep or whatever happened internally, there wasn't much of a presence. Sales start to subside. Other companies start to come in. It ends up getting drowned out in the humidor, and then you move on. But, and specifically with the La Prave, I remember them talking about the blend. I remember having some test blends there. He's come up with 2 blends there. Not
to take anything away from the Connecticut, but for me, that Maduro just it really popped. It didn't it certainly didn't smoke or taste like any fivers along much. It was a legit stick.
Yes.
Legit stick enough to buy a couple boxes, you know?
Yeah, it was a legit stick. And you know what I like about it now is, you know, sometimes, at least on a once-a-week basis, probably for the past 2-3 weeks, or maybe, you know, maybe 3 out of the past 6 weeks, I found myself going back to the Prof.
Right.
And the reason being, I was like, wow, they're really coming into.
Yep.
But the reason why they're coming into, they've been sitting in the humidor for a couple of years.
Oh, you better believe it.
You know, and it was good. And then I remember him coming up with different names and all of that stuff. I'm not going to get into the names, but, you know, and then he came up with the concept of the La Prov and came there because he's located just a couple minutes away from the city of Providence and whatnot. And it's got the silhouette of the city and all of that stuff. And I would venture to say that I know that the La Prov is in a couple of shops locally as well.
Yep. And
that's the idea of that. And I can tell you, I am at liberty to discuss that Brian LeBeau is coming up with a second house stick.
Interesting.
As well.
Nice.
I already know the name. I'm not going to talk about the name yet. We could bring him on the show if he wants to. But I know the name and I know the factory. And it's not going to be Black Label. It's going to be a different factory, which if we get to the Paul Joyle story, there's a different factory there. And I'm sure that we will within this segment. So, you know, switching factories for a house stick isn't a bad idea. It isn't there. Again, in regards to product, it's all based upon demand. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if they put out a house stick and there's a demand, if you're in 3, 4, 5, 6 shops, and there's even more of a demand, and word gets around, now you might be in 10, 15, 20, 30 shops.
Case in point, Paul Joyle, now you're breaching outside of the state. I believe he's up and down the East Coast from Maine to Florida, and numerous shops and numerous blends, numerous sizes. Yeah, it really takes on a life of its own. And
right.
For me in particular, I was up in New Hampshire there, and the Castro Short Maduro was a $4.50 stick with crazy flavor. I couldn't believe it. I was had to pinch myself. Cocoa, Barnyard, and Fruit Loops. Which that flavor point I haven't experienced yet. And I couldn't believe this is a house stick priced at $4.50, and it absolutely delivered on flavor. I don't know with certainty that it's out, ventured outside of New Hampshire yet. I think it might just be locally within their shops and a few of the big boys up there, but it's one to seek out, and also the point to not discredit house shops in your area. If they happen to have that house blend, give it a peek, give it a try, and maybe pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I think that right now, business wise, the barrier to entry is pre-FDA and all of that. So a couple years ago, the barrier to entry was not an unknown, and the barrier to entry was low in order for you to produce your own blend.
Right.
So basic economics would tell you that if the barrier to entry is low, you're going to have more awareness and more opportunity for people to, dare I say, squeeze in their blends into their profile of their humidor, come up with the negotiations, figure it out. I can tell you that the process has a lot of curveballs. We could probably re-interview everyone that we have done here on the Stogie Geeks for 2017 and talk to them about, okay, the launch of their particular product and what it takes. Because, I remember in the case of the La Prov, where you get some sample sticks and you start to they're just labeled 1, 2, 3 or
right.
ABC or whatever.
Yep.
And you go through that process. So once you pick the blend, like, the journey really begins. You know what I mean? Because you have to worry about, obviously, the label component. How are you going to do the labels? The box component, which box in presentation within usually any industry, but within the cigar industry, because certain factories have access to a certain style of boxes. Then you have to make conscientious decision. Do you want to bundle them? Right? Because you could have a house stick that was bundled. I know when I owned a retail shop, we didn't have a house stick, but we had a stick and a rep who served us very well, and we asked them if we could use this as our house stick.
Right.
And they was like, oh yeah, if you know, this is the process, blah, blah, blah. You know, can we do our blends? Can we put our bands on it? Can we not? We could get the logistics. But we had made a decision at the time, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, to just go with the bundles.
Right.
Now, I do know with the bundles that off the top of my head, the two guys are in bundles.
Right.
You know, and there's a whole argument within the humidor. We can bring in any retail manager here of any shop, you know, on Main Street, USA. Doesn't matter. The bundles might not sell as well as the boxes because of presentation. And
some shops they do. Sometimes, you know,
right.
some shops in particular, I'm not gonna name, but they move very well. They move they move frequent. You know, maybe it's just instead of a particular shop, guys are reaching out for 2 or 3 premium sticks in a day if they happen to have that kind of time and luxury to afford a few, or maybe it's that one premium stick and you reach for a house cigar and you know, bundled stick from there to space it out. You know, it's up to the consumer, but at the end of the day, it's nice to have options and choices.
Oh yeah,
I see you know, another avenue too. It's an alternate path for shops to get involved. Maybe some of the larger companies, maybe they have a lesser stick that's been sitting for a while, tabled. They weren't able to bring it to market. This is a nice avenue. They can get that stick out in the hands of the consumer, and you know, it's in a nice partnership with the shop as well. You know, nice little partnership. Both I see it as a win for both. Get that stick out, get in the consumer's hands, and enjoy, and at a nice price point too.
Absolutely. You know, and when you bring in the business component, I've had an experience with an outside of state, meaning outside of Rhode Island state shop that was looking to take their house stick and stop putting it into different retails outside of the state that they were in. And the stick that I'm speaking with in regards to this is the Taza de Jose, which Spanish is translated for a cup of Joe's, which if you go to acupofjoes.com, it's all tied in. That is Queensberry Tobacco and Pipe up in Queensberry, right?
Queensberry, New York. Yep.
And they came up with the Taza de Jose. They have a Connecticut blend, and then they have a Habano blend. And again, they were looking for a penetration outside of the state, and we're able to successfully start that process and procure that. And you know, again, the shop, that's another component business wise that the shop owner has to be aware of, you know, that it can take on another expense and take on. So, you know, it's really up to the shop, like you said, with the ones up in New Hampshire, that just stay to a couple shops there and then do that there. Could be word of mouth, you know, go to pay distributor, or go through all that process. Right. And if it gets out there. But what I did like about the example with the Taza de Jose is that a lot of people, well, first of all, some people were confused because my name was Joe, and they thought it was my stick. So I had to jump through that hurdle. No, this is the, you know, but also what I liked about it is the label. If you go to Queensberry Tobacco and Pipe, it has a silhouette of a gentleman smoking pipe, right? Because they're a pipe distributor, and then they have a cigar shop up there as well. And then they did the same silhouette, same guy, just with a cigar. And the label is connected to the website.
Gotcha.
So if you want to talk about kind of bang for your buck,
business standpoint, solid move right there.
Expanding your market, you know, you're capturing that. You can go specifically, even though it was separate from their pipe selling and pipe distributing and in their cigar shop site, marketing wise, they can be intertwined. But I think that was a very powerful move. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
When I had my cigar radio show that was played here in the Province Metro over on AM radio called Cigar Club Radio, I had the opportunity to interview Paul Joyle. And Paul Joyle was telling us the story. And of course, you know, just like any other Stogie Geeks interview, okay, let's talk about the name,
Yeah.
right? Let's get into the business structure.
Yep.
You know, how did, you know, Paul Joyle come up with you know, the Grotto series,
J.
or the
Grotto,
J. Grotto series?
Yeah.
And then he has 3 of them now, right? He has 3 lines there. And like you said earlier on, it's doing very well. Now he's taken it to where, you know, not only is he a shop owner, and now he does his events with his sticks, and
I know he's on the road too. He's putting in that time. Oh, yeah.
And if you're thumbing through some of the major publications, he's there.
He is.
You know, he's there. You know, so if for the Stogie Geeks listener, non-Rhode Island based, right? For the Stogie Geeks listener, we're talking specifically about the J. Grotto. He has the J. Grotto Silk.
Yep.
And he's got the Anniversario. And they're all under the J. Grotto label.
They're all very good.
Yep.
Which
yep.
you know, and you think there'd be you know, the possibility of being a miss in there, and they're all very solid.
Yeah. Do you know how he came up with the name?
No.
No. Well, I was only going from my interview with him, right?
I'm guessing the Grotto, just that, you know, that kind of perfect spot to be isolated and have a cigar with friends. And no,
sorta.
Okay.
Sorta. The only reason why I'm speaking about this is because I've had an interview, so I am not putting words in Paul Joyle's mouth or anything like that. It's archived on my website, so you can go back and check it and all of that stuff, right? Apparently, Paul had an area in his house, in the backyard.
Yep.
And these are all his words. His wife was into gardening and all that stuff.
Yep.
And so she made the yard very, very nice. And after the shop would close, like most every other cigar shop, when it closes, it doesn't really close, right? Yeah. There are a certain group of guys or gals or crew who hang out with the shop owner, either, you know, doors locked, shop owner there, or hey,
migrate to
they would migrate over to Paul's house, and after the shop was closed, and do that there, and a couple of his friends from his close sphere was saying, "Wow, like, you know, going to your house is like going to a grotto, like going to that." And then so they said, "Why don't you just name it J. Grotto? You know, you got the J, the Joyles, this, that. You know what I mean?" Because I asked them, you know, and if you think about it, you know, when I think of the new name of the potential second stick that's going to come out of Churchill's and the LaPrade, that's how maybe some of the names come out. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you should call it this. You know, sometimes, you know, the stars align and you're like, that's it, that's the name, and that's there. And I can tell you that from a marketing perspective, when you're trying to market your product, sometimes a name, it just feels right. Like, it's just like a feeling.
Speaks to you, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guess that was their methodology. And then he had ran into other stories about how he was going to name the silk, you know, and then he had done that there. And then again, there was some other stories that I'm not 100%. I couldn't deliver that story with 100% certainty, so I'm not. But it's along those lines. Like,
and actually, Paul's you know, well intertwined with, you know, the history in the Stogie Geeks, and certainly viewers can go back and, you know, all the previous episodes when he's been on, just do a search and get that full history there. I'd be remiss if I didn't also add in the 724 Kirk Kendall stick.
I was going there too.
Up in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Twin Smoke Shop. And that 724, numerous sizes and blends, have absolutely penetrated outside of the New England market. All over the place, rated, incredible stick. That Lancero is one of those favorites for me that I migrate to.
Yeah. Well, you, the Stogie Geeks listener, we would love to hear from your local shop. What we can do is, if you email joeh@stogiegeeks.com, put in the subject house stick, maybe from your local shop. And if there's a website, then great, they're on top of it. If there's not a website and there's maybe a Facebook or however, if you could let me know what the house stick is, and you know, if they're available for purchase online, or
happen to find their way over here to Stogie Geeks.
Well, not only that, we could post it on the wiki site.
Absolutely.
You know, and just put like a house stick list. So maybe, you know, the Stogie Geeks listener can kind of interact, because again, I do feel that business wise, okay, once you get it in your shop, and say it does well and it builds demand, the next logical step is to get it next door.
Yep.
Or next door. And so business-wise, you want to take the path of least resistance. You want to take the path of, cost effectiveness.
True.
Right?
Yep.
So they may be hyper-local. So you may have a local shop that has a house stick that we never even heard of, right? Email it to us. I'll get them all formatted somehow in order. We'll do bullet points. We'll do a section because I would love to try some. I would love to say, hey, this is from Oregon, or this is from California, or this is from there. And then, if the shop owner wants to, if they're able to have online purchases, who knows? It's a good collective audience because where I personally search for house sticks is within my travels.
I was just going to bring that up. Whenever I migrate outside of New England or even branch out in some of these other states here, I look for that. I look for shops. We all look for shops. You land at the airport or wherever you are. Where am I going next? First stop, cigar lounge, and check it out. But I like to have that information ahead of time too, and see if they happen to offer that house stick. See if it's got get some legs to it. If it's migrated outside of their own given shop and region, it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, and some of them come from bigger factories.
Oh, yeah.
So
right.
it's not that they're coming from bigger factories. I'm trying to diligently walk without the inside baseball, right? Yeah. But so realistically speaking, for example, the Alec Bradley factory rolls a lot of house sticks for some other companies,
right?
At AJ Fernandez as well, and so if you're sitting in your shop and your shop owner always wanted to do that, then depending on the activity of the rep and all of that stuff, and also the relationship with the shop owner, with the factories, or the relationship with the factory owners, with the manufacturer, and there, they could get it done pretty quickly.
The Stogie Geek and me want, I don't just pick out the stick. I want a little bit of history behind it. I want to know where it's, who are they in business with? Where's it being made? Is it a prominent shop? Was there some history and a long thought process? Was it 10 years in the making, or they just kind of reached out and it all came together perfectly at that time? It's interesting, and having that knowledge and education base behind it as to more enjoyable experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like I said, bringing it back business wise, right? You have to make a decision. With anything, do you want to go far or wide? You know what I mean? Do you want one cigar shop and load up your humidor and have it be a mecca, or do you want 2 or 3 cigar shops in a geographical area and expand it and do that there? So
sometimes it's not up to you. Sometimes it's so legit that they can't help but reach outside of that shop,
right?
Which is incredible,
right? And it's I know off the top of my head that Crux was that way,
right?
We've had an episode with Casey Hogan.
Yep.
From Crux. That was a couple episodes back.
251, I think.
Okay, great. That was in it there, so I would call him Rain Man. Right. Kurt Kendall. Right. He owns Twin Cigar Shops up there.
Yep.
And then has his own label there, and his label does well. And it's in a lot of places here in the Northeast. I don't know what his gig is outside of the Northeast, but
he's out there. I'm not sure, the extent of the reach, but it's one of those well-known sticks that in the biz everybody migrates to. Yeah, I see Paul Joyle doing the same thing with that Jake Grotto.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a smart move. It can if you've taken the time and the liberty to come up with a good stick, and there's enough demand behind it, it could be a very good advertising tool for your business.
Just going to say, if nothing else, it's going to drum up solid business and conversation and point you right in that direction of, you know, Mr. Jason Vanna shop or Twins or Two Guys, wherever you're at. Absolutely. Yep.
Now here comes a hard question, right? Since the barrier to entry seems to be lower, right? And again, I'm leaving FDA out of the equation for now because we are going to get to that, right?
Yep.
But you know, where I think, I don't want to use the word negative, but where I think that where some might make a decision too hastily is when they say, "Oh, I'm going to come out with a Connecticut," right? So they say, "Okay, I'm going to come out with a Connecticut blend, blah blah blah." And they go through the motion. It's great packaging. It's great name. People like it in a local shop. But here is a pushback outside of your local shop from a business perspective. And the pushback is, okay, great. Now, however you market it, you either go through a distributor or you bang on doors yourself and travel within an hour radius from your shop, however you want to do it, right? Now, you're another $8 to $12 Connecticut.
Now you're competing with
on a shelf
with the same brands you're trying to push. Absolutely,
right. You're another 8 to 10. You got to look at it from not your shop's perspective, right?
Right.
You're another 8 to 10, 8 to 12, right? Which is the price point range, I think, with some of these sticks. You know, some of them can get into that $4 range, sure, but you know, what do you do then?
These are questions I would love to have answered from future episodes. Maybe we can work at lining some of these guys up, and I'd love to hear it right from their mouth.
Well, I mean, off the top of my head, I could not speak for people, but I do know some people in the industry who've had house blends in that they've released the Connecticut second or third.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, oh, by the way, you like my X or you like my Y. By the way, we decided to go with a Connecticut then, and then did that. I think
strategy. Yeah.
I think that realistically speaking, that's a smarter move if the shop wants to take it out of his or her shop.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
You know, because
see if it has walking legs first before you breach that, and certainly that Connecticut market is it's a different market all on its own, and a lot of the guys that typically smoke those Connecticut's, they might not migrate out to some of the heavier sticks, and now if you supply them with an ample tasty option right in that price range, maybe even better. Now you're kind of battling. You're going nose to nose with some of the sticks you generally try to push every day.
But if it's in your shop, I think that they would go to your stick at least for a try one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. Of course. I mean, you go to say you go to the same shop geographically. You go 2-3 times a week, once a week, whatever. After a while, you're most likely bound to try that stick.
Yep.
But outside of your shop, the competition can be pretty fierce. So then you say, okay, well, let me separate it. I'm going to go with a Habano. I'm going to go with a Maduro, or I'm going to go with.
Would you reach out to that house stick in another location aside from the shop where it all started from? I don't know. It's going to be pretty good. It's going to be pretty good to move that needle.
It's got to be a compelling story.
Right.
I think it has to be a compelling story. I think it has to be a good stick, which, I mean, let's face it. When we do sticks of the week and review it, what's a good stick to Joe Hozempa might not be a good stick to Joe D.
Absolutely.
Or Paul, or the guest. You know what I mean?
Right.
And stuff like that. That's why that's what's great about the obvious is everyone has passion for the industry. We get it.
Very subjective. Sure.
But to release with the Connecticut, I think first, if you want to stay within your town, sure, it's cool.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But then again, when you start talking about the marketing component, people know you're in the town.
It's a bold move. Bold move, sir.
But when you try to go with the other stuff, with an alternative blend, the stakes are a little higher and the demand is pretty higher. You know, and then you also have the SKU argument. You know, like if you take 724, he's got a bunch of SKUs.
Ton of SKUs.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, so you know, and when he released this thing, it's a lot different than some of the other examples that we have given. And again, it gets back to the business argument. Do you want to go long or do you want to go wide?
When I was just up there's a case or two dedicated solely to 724. And I feel if I had canvassed the entire shop while I was a couple hours, you know, I was there up in the Londonderry location, might have been half. Would have been half of the patrons in the shop with that 724. Now that doesn't mean that's the only stick they're smoking. It just happened to be, you know, very prevalent that day. It's in their hands. Maybe it's like we were talking about earlier. Maybe one of two, one of three. Interesting. It really fascinates me, the house sticks, and especially when they're tasty, especially when they're good ones.
Now I'm going to take you through another journey that could blow your mind.
Okay.
Might not, right? But when we're talking specifically with the 724, for me in my rotation, that's at least a once a week smoke.
Absolutely.
Different sizes, different blends, different things, different SKUs that the local shops here have to offer.
Right.
Right. What happens? Because I'm literally just thinking about this now.
Yep.
What happens when the consumer forgets about the fact that that's a house stick and that's just a stick that I like?
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like because I look at it because it just popped into my head. Like, okay, I toggle. They have the Factory 57.
Yes.
Is that their latest one? Okay, the Factory 57. I like it. Like, not gonna lie. Like it. Didn't take time out to thoroughly review it yet on Sticks of the Week.
Right.
You know, trying the different sizes. I like it when I'm delivering to the Stogie Geeks listener, hey, I've tried 3 sizes of this, or I've tried 2 sizes of this, as opposed to, you know, tried it, hated it, tried it, like, whatever. You know what I mean?
Excellent point.
So, you know,
I personally don't, when I come across that, you know, that J Grotto in various shops, that 724.
That's another example.
It is not in my mind at all that it's originated as a house stick. It's gained such legs, stands alone on its own, and it's become, like you said earlier, it's a rotational stick.
Yes.
Yep. Right?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And you know, and that will prompt you to, you know, of course you'll have your favorites you initially try, but that's going to prompt you to try new offerings, various sizes, and you know, it's right in the regular rotation. Yeah,
absolutely.
I hadn't thought about that till this point.
No,
so.
I just honestly, we were going through. We're going through, and I'm saying, like, you know, 2 perfect examples right there too. Like, I don't think, like, wow, like, you know, the J Grotto is Paul Joyle's stick. And
maybe we're spoiled being up in this area that we kind of have a multitude of legitimate house sticks in play. That listener feedback as well. If we get the listeners to contribute, I want to know what else is out there. Is it those prominent house sticks?
Well, see, now I'm going off on a tangent, but I think we'll probably safely end it after this tangent.
Yep.
Right? It's kind of like, you know how you watch the History Channel and you're like, is there any life out there? No, seriously, right? No, because I am sure through technology, if we were to interview someone in all 50 states, if we're able to coordinate this, they probably, I would venture to say that 88% of them have a story just like us of a, I don't want to use the word boutique, I want to use a house stick that became a household name, like some of the bigger names in their region.
I love it.
Where they don't think of it. And it's like, wow, like, you know what I mean? Because that is, first of all, I would love to get my hands on some of those sticks, you know, just from a standpoint, because, you know, if you're out there as a Stogie Geeks listener, and, you know, here we are throwing names out like Kurt Kendall from 724, or Paul Joyle from the J Grotto series. If there's a version of that within your land and within your world, in your universe, because, you know, I don't have the luxury to, hang out in shops down in Texas or Atlanta or all of that stuff.
Yep.
Right? If there's a version of that,
this is the forum. Bring it to the table. Let's hear about it.
Bring it. We'd love to hear from you. You can start that by Joe H at StogieGeeks.com. I will share the email with Joe D. If you're technically inclined, if you put a little comma after the emails, right? You can email two of us at once, right? You can email Joe H at StogieGeeks.com and Joe D at StogieGeeks.com. And please supply a link of something, even if they're not on a website or something like that. At least give us a Facebook, give us some sort of a reference, so we could probably place a call. And I'd like to continue to check in with the Stogie Geeks audience on this.
I see this as a future episode for sure. Yeah.
It's
a great topic.
Yeah,
topic.
and because there has to be, you know what I mean? It's kind of like getting back to the History Channel. This can't be the most intelligent planet. All you're going to do is watch any news.
Who else is out there?
You know what I mean? Like, something has to be out there. You know what I mean? I find it hard to believe that all the coolest cigars happen just in our
Somebody
backyard.
is tickling keys at home right now. They can't wait to let us know. They're yelling at the screen. Let us know. We want to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I think I think that this conversation for this house stick segment is definitely a to be continued. For sure.
Where we at with the cigar?
This cigar, I'm still enjoying the meatiness.
I know we're not paying as much attention to it given the diligence, but the cigar is ridiculous.
Yeah. It's like I said, I'm getting that mild meatiness, very tasty.
Right. Thank you to Mr. Robert Holt chipping us off.
Yeah,
take care of the boys.
It's very enjoyable. I love the concept of they sell them in dual. Explain that again.
Co-duello. Yeah, it's meant to be smoked, with someone else, and you compare and contrast, settle the differences, smoke like a gentleman. It pains me that this particular stick, and this is also available in the kudzu, did not gain tremendous market traction because they are ridiculous. They're ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Limited,
so it's the size production. In the kudzu?
Right.
Okay.
Yep, two different sizes,
okay.
Kudzu and the Firethorn.
Mm-hmm.
And it plays well. If you like those two particular sticks, these are ramped up, more flavorful, perfect smoking format, the double perfecto. Yeah, it's
awesome.
a win. Yep.
Awesome. I like it. Do you want me to answer my emails now, or do you want to wait till another segment?
No, let's bang it out.
You want to bang it out?
Yeah.
Then we'll be more organized. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
I think it's a fun segment. Get into that mailbag.
Yeah, no, I do. I think it's because I was like, I totally have to do this. Okay. Now, baseline, right? Last week, episode 255, I did a quick mailbag.
Yep.
Before our Robert Holt interview with Southern Draw Cigars, and I was answering some listener feedback emails. By the way, all listener feedback, email Joe H or Joe D now, because he is available, at StogieGeeks.com. And if you want to email us both, you can do that too. And there were two interesting emails that I wanted to get to, and I didn't get a chance to, and I promised myself I would. Okay? This one comes from Carl. Whoops, hold on. Because my email is coming in now.
Carl with a K or a C?
K.
Oh.
Right? Carl S. Right? I won't give the full name. Right? I'm trying to be like anonymous, right? Carl S. emailed me 3 times.
Oh,
right?
wow.
He emailed me 3 times. Thank you for the emails. I did get them all. I did respond to them all. And his third time, he used 3 question marks after it.
Oh, wow. He's so adamant.
Carl, I am not avoiding you, okay?
Carl is not messing around. Let's go.
I am not avoiding you. And Carl has asked me all 3 times for the same thing. And I've gotten permission from the first time, and then I responded to him, and then it was like, well, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? So Carl S. writes, Joe, when are we going to get a tour of what's inside Paul's humidor?
Oh, nice.
So,
nice.
Cameraman, can you shine a little thing on Joe D? Okay. Behind Joe D is Paul's humidor, okay? And I spoke to Paul. Okay, this thing's probably about 6 feet tall, Okay. I spoke to Paul. We are going to do an episode, Carl S. I promise. I'm trying to get this done during the month of January. I will flash you an email back of when this is going to happen. Right? We're ready to do it. It's just logistically, I don't know how we're gonna bring all of the sticks out there. So I don't know if we're gonna pick out sectional things and give you a tour, or if we're gonna have Joe D get up and down, or it's something.
Oh, you want to see me work?
But let me tell you something. If going through Paul's humidor, it's amazing.
Treasure trove.
It's amazing of what's in there. I've also had some Stogie Geeks listeners who emailed me back. They were able to find the Nat Chicos there from my numerous mentions of them, and track them down and whatnot. So one of the things we got to do is figure out.
Quick idea. I'm thinking maybe we grab, one, two, three items, stack it up in between, showcase it maybe at the beginning or the end of
Each segment?
Yeah, each segment. Just give them a little something.
That's a
little
good
peek.
idea. That's because I'm thinking about it. Like, you don't want to get
It's
up,
a nice talking point.
get
It's
up,
on
see
display.
a blank thing, come back. Look, this is the this is the 2013 EP Carrillo short runs, which are banging in there right now. Right?
What shelf? What shelf again?
Those are the second shelf from the top on the left hand side.
Nice.
Right. I could go through the Rolodex, but I'm sure you want. And then we also want to get another camera, so when we shine it, it'll go on the actual stick, so the Stogie Geeks listener can at least pause the video, see the label, do his or her research, and then get that there too. So
good point.
We have to work that out with the crew. My goal is to have that happen by January. That will be on a Stogie Geeks episode. I like the theme version. So take a little section out of all the 3 segments to actually do it, and then do that there.
The listeners are going to be pirating the humidor with us.
I had thought of dragging the cameras and sitting Indian style. Sitting Indian style in front of the humidor, but I don't think that would make for a good podcast. You know what I mean? You'd have to be like a true Stogie Geek, or like Carl, who's chomping at the bit, right?
Man,
because it did start with Carl. All kidding aside, and this is the kind of dialogue that I love to have with the Stogie Geeks listener.
Carl, thank you.
Where Carl's like, take a picture of Paul's humidor. Take a picture. Okay, what's the name of it? So I'm like, okay, that's the second name. Oh, it's the name of it, right? So I'm doing research, trying to find the name. You know what I mean? I come up unsuccessful. Well, where'd he get it? Well, that's, and you're like, okay. And then, and the funny thing is, that is not his whole humidor.
No.
You know what I mean? So,
probably going to multiply by 5 at his house.
So it could be like a quarterly thing. There. I'm not going to task Paul with having an inventory list.
Well, the good news, he gave us the word that he's going to be rejoining the show, shortly after the first of the year, and the listeners are going to have quite a few tasty comments and questions for him, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Carl, I did put it out to production just now. It's going to be in the mix for January. Joe D, please keep us on task for that.
Keep your eyes peeled. Right? Oh, yeah, we'll get it done.
We're going to do that. And then the other one, this I thought was a pretty neat one here. Thanks for okay. I did not. Carl sent me 4 emails. This is. Oh wow. Okay. See, well, Carl, you're a very patient man. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
I was like, wait a minute, that's not Carl too? No. Carl,
that's Carl W.
Same email, right? Carl sent me 4, right? But in reality, he's asked me this again, and he sent me 5 total. But
okay.
3 on the humidor and 1 on this. But Carl brings up a very good point, which at first when he tasked me, I was like, oh boy, how am I going to do this? Because I have not been on every single Stogie Geeks episode.
Right.
But Carl wrote back in September, but I did respond to him pre-September, right? Carl S. wrote, Joe, thanks for getting back with me. I'm a big fan of the show, and I'm working on a project with the Stogie Geeks podcast of adding all the Oasis cigars to my collection to smoke through.
Nice. Nice.
Now, this was the second email because he said, thanks for getting back to me. His first email was, I need a list of all the Oasis cigars from Stogie Geeks ever. And I'm like, oh, boy.
Oh, 250 plus. We're at 256 now.
I'm like, oh, boy. But this came to me. I don't know how it came to me. I'm fascinated by it because it's technological.
Better believe it, yeah.
Okay, Carl. And for the Stogie Geeks listener.
Challenge accepted.
Listen at home. I have a quick and easy way for you to find out how we have critiqued all of the Stogie Geeks cigars. Okay? All you have to do is you log on to stogiegeeks.com, click on go to the Stogies section, click on any cigar that was an Oasis rating, okay? And then under the name, there are tags. And usually the tag says Joe Hozempa, Joe D. Some of them were from Coop at the time. Some of them were from Mark Stogie Santa at the time. Right. Some of them were and Paul at the time. Thank you. Right, leave everyone out. Right, and some of them that they're there. And then and how this came to me was when I was posting them. I usually put 4 tags on it. The first tag is what the cigar is. Right. So you can find out like the name, and it'll come up with ones in the name. And then the other one is the rating. I always put it in the Stogies section. Paul puts his on either both the Stogies or in the regular feed. Obviously, he owns the show, so there you go. And then so I put mine in the Stogies section, and then I give the rating, and the rating is the point of the email. The rating, you'll be able to click on the rating. Nice. So if you go find any cigar that was an Oasis on stogiegeeks.com. Okay, so you go to stogiegeeks.com, click on Stogies, find a cigar that was an Oasis, Carl, specifically. Click on their little tags right underneath the name that usually have my name, Paul's name. Well, there wouldn't be any Oasis with my name, but right, right. Click on that, and that'll give you whatever tag you click on. So if they click on Joe H, it's all the cigars that Joe H is rated. If they click on Paul Azadorian, it's all the cigars that Paul Azadorian is rated.
Carl, speaking of my forte, I'm a stats geek. I am in the process of backloading. So when I joined Stogie Geeks back in episode 221, I'm in the process of backloading all those cigars that I've personally reviewed. Some of those, I've got a couple Oasis ratings in there as well. Mm-hmm. And give me a couple weeks. I promise they'll be in there, and I'm very curious. I want to know. I want to know. I might even do some, my own.
You know what you could do? You know what you could do? Idea, shooting off the hip, right? Rekindle yourself with the visit, and see if the rating's still changed as your palate changed.
Well, all right. So
because then you could do pre-episode 221.
There's some psychic work going on. That was my notion for 2018. I'm going to get back into it 6 months, 6 months, 8 months removed, revisit some of those sticks, see if we're in the same point, and also there's always going to be plenty of new sticks. There's new cigars popping up all the time. We're always going to be reviewing, but those revisitations of previous cigars, that's fun, and that's a great fun point for the listener to go back and are we still on point where we were originally? So yeah.
If you need help, just pick up the cigars. I'll review them with you. Nice. Right there you go. Anyway, stay tuned. Next section of episode 256 is coming up in a little bit. We're gonna take a quick break.
Duran Premium Cigars, one of the fastest growing boutique cigar companies, providing smokers a portal into the old Cuban tradition of perfect balance and the lost art of progressive flavor construction. Roberto Pelayo Duran began his career in tobacco over 2 decades ago in Havana, where his reputation grew within Cuban circles. The creation of Duran Premium Cigars has given Roberto the platform to introduce a series of cigars that offer the same quality, construction, and detail which he perfected while in Cuba. Brands include the ultra-premium Roberto P. Duran Premium Cigar Series, Azan Cigars, Nea, and Baracoa. Duran Cigars uses a seed-to-humidor approach, as all tobacco is grown on their farms and rolled in their factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. Rollers have been carefully chosen to carry out Roberto's precise method to ensure progressive flavor in each cigar. Duran Cigars invites you to make their premium your standard.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 256, volume 2. I am your host this week, Joe Hozempa. Co-host with me is Joe D, always in the seat. Pleasure. Yeah. I have the privilege and the honor to introduce Tony Mendoza. He is a full-time soldier. He is a part-time filmmaker and an intense cigar enthusiast.
Solid. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Tony had just completed his second feature film titled Life in the Hole. He's going to tell us all about this and where you could view this feature film. He's also got some projects for 2018 coming up, and we're going to talk about what it's like to enjoy cigars and be in a movie. Tony, how are you, sir?
I'm good, gentlemen. How you guys doing?
We're doing well.
Good, Tony. Thank you.
We're sitting here enjoying a stick, and we get to speak to people who appeared in movies. I mean, you know, it's not a bad way to spend a Monday, sir.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be on the show and everything. And we were talking about before, you know, you guys are very festive. I think I went over the top, and then I saw you guys, and I was like, oh no, we fell right in place, so we're good.
We're ready to go. We're ready to go.
Very festive background right there.
You are a full-time soldier.
Yes.
First and foremost, I want to thank you on behalf of us here at Stogie Geeks and your staff for your sacrifice and your service. I know what it's like for the families to go out there and the family sacrifice and your sacrifice. And, you know, there is definitely not enough thanks that any of us can give you.
Thank you, sir.
I want to thank you and especially shout out to the Stogie Geeks listeners for their families and all of us who are out there. What branch are you in?
I am right now part of the Nevada Army National Guard. Mm-hmm. So I'm a full-time member of the National Guard with the Army. So
Awesome. Well, thank you for your service. I love the festive background.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's great. Well, so which one did you get into first, cigars or films?
Oh, man, that's a really great question. So when I was a kid, you know, 12, 13, probably even younger, we started dabbling with a camera that my aunt let us borrow. It's the old ones that used to plug into the VCR.
Oh, yeah.
So I've always dabbled in those types of projects. I don't know if I'd call them films. Most of the time we just lip sync music videos and tried a few little skits and what have you. But I didn't really get into films until I got out of my first stint of the military in 2000, and I went to college to figure out, hey, I got this college money, I need to do something. And a counselor started picking my brain, mm-hmm. and she told me about a film program. And so I thought, oh, wow. So I got into it, and from there I just took off from it. So
take us through that journey. So you started off, what did you do, like side projects first? Because, you know, from the little that I know about that, it's extremely competitive. And it reminds me of Disneyland. Just when you think you're in the first of the line, you turn the corner and you have more time to wait. Is that a correct assessment or what?
You know, it really depends at what part of the industry you're part of. I mean, because people that are involved, whether in filmmaking, and we're talking feature film, 2-hour narratives, that's extremely competitive. We see all the content out there right now. But then you can get down to a music video production level, and that's competitive, but maybe not as much. And then you can be a local shooter, you know, doing commercials and what have you. So there's a lot of facets of film production that I would say they're all competitive, but competitive in their own right. But trying just to write a movie, shoot a movie, get it distributed, and make money from it, it's very, very tough. So you asked me how I got into it. I went into school, and it took quite a few. To believe it or not, even though I'm shooting these films, I'm actually still in film school with the interruptions with my career and what have you, and other projects. So yeah, I just got into school, and I was taught the fundamentals. We call it film grammar. We were taught those fundamentals of basic film production, and from there, it's just mastering different aspects of that production process and figuring out eventually where you fit into that ecosystem. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you're looking for more details, but I'm just trying to give you the Reader's Digest version. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's from what, like I said, from what I know, it's a lot like the music industry, and I can only compare it from that. I've had the opportunity to attend Berklee College of Music, and and one of the first takeaways that you realize is that 83% of people who go to Berklee don't graduate from Berklee because they already get music gigs. Right. So they're already broke students, and then they have an opportunity to break through. Yep. And I mean, I could list tons of the drummer from this one or the guitarist from this one and all of that stuff. Maybe another Stogie Geeks episode, but it's one of those things where it's very competitive. Like most other industries, online is a buzzword that has probably changed a lot. When you're talking feature films, maybe you as a creative director have to make a decision if it's going to go on like a Netflix and just strictly online, or if you're going to try to make the go into theaters, what the barrier to entry is to that and all that stuff. So I'm sure it's pretty complicated,
It's complicated, and like you said, it's very competitive, especially when you start. You have independent level films where there's not a real basic standard of performance when you're dealing with talent. And this film I just was hired to do in September was my first SAG film. Okay. And so when we talk about barriers of entry and requirements and having to really lay out your plan as to where that film's going, a lot of that. Well, let me reverse that. Contracts are built around your plan. Mm-hmm. So there's certain financial restrictions or required compensations depending on where you plan on taking your film. So, so again, very competitive, just like the music industry, like you said before. So,
Tony, are you speaking on Ride Hard, Live Free, the 2018 release? Okay.
Right. I was going to start talking about that, but yeah.
Nice.
Life in the Hole was a great project. It was an experiment for me to work with a lower budget, contained thriller, things like that. But that film actually earned me a job where an investor out of Arkansas hired me to make this film for him. Excellent. So,
Life in the Hole, you talking about? That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Life in the Hole was what I financed, and then that film earned me the job for Ride Hard, Live Free.
Okay, take us through both of those in any order you want, whatever way you want to articulate it to our audience.
Okay, all right. So I'll try. I'll try to not. Hey, you know what? I'm Italian. I'm military, so I'm a little verbose. So if you gotta give me the signal to slow it down, please let me know. So, but So my first film when I got back from Afghanistan in 2010 was titled Pitching Hope, and it was about basically horseshoes, the game of horseshoes. I've always tried to approach my films with a business aspect as to things that haven't been touched. We say all stories have been told, but maybe not all subject matters within those stories. So I shot a faith-based family film coming back from Afghanistan in 2010. And the production side was fine, but everything from that point forward was just a horrible experience. Unfortunately for me, trying to skate the line between family faith-based films while still having a realistic, hey, all church people aren't just polished 100% of the time. I was trying to show that we struggle as humans. Mm-hmm. That didn't resonate well with the business side of things because the faith-based community thought that film was a little too rough. Okay. And then let's say non-faith-based viewers thought it was a little soft and cheesy. So I had to pick a genre, and that was my failure in that. Plus, I signed a distribution deal with a company like 1,000 filmmakers out there. I really didn't render a lot of money. So what Pitching Hope costed me was education. It taught me a lot, not only on production side, but also the financial side of distribution on the business. So
sounds like
taking all of those, yeah, I mean, that's how you learn, right?
Trial and error,
right,
for
right.
sure.
It really is. So taking all of those mistakes and concepts and just a change in my personal life and what have you, I decided to end up trying to shoot what we call a contained thriller. I wanted to take a budget half of what Pitching Hope was, and in order to do that, I had to keep it in pretty much one location, minimal cast, minimal crew, so that we could move fast and effective. But regardless if you have $1 billion budget or $1,000 budget, whether you're 20 locations or one location, story is always king. So putting myself in one room with 3 actors, give or take, challenged myself and my writer. He's my buddy. He's a real good friend. He's my co-writer too, J.G. Blodgett. It forced us to create a story within these requirements, so that story-wise, it was a solid story. Subject-wise, women in peril is a genre that is underutilized, and then also cost-wise, on a producer level, being able to do something that was affordable. So if I lose my shirt, I just lose my shirt. I don't lose my pants and my socks and my shoes. So, and this is what life in the whole was for me. It was to get me back in the director's seat, but also it was a business experiment and very story-driven, but very simplified movie making, if that makes sense.
And this is the Life in the Hole is a psychological thriller.
Yes. We call it psychological thriller just because of the different aspects, with the drug hallucinations and the unique style of cutting and some of the certain flashbacks and things like that. It does deal specifically with human trafficking.
Okay.
And now my daughter, my youngest daughter, was never like a victim of human trafficking, but just like every man, I'm sure, with daughters that end up falling in love and moving away, I was really, really jaded towards this individual guy. So I was like, okay, man, we need to tell a story that, shows the women that are subjected to strong-handedness, and in the end they recover from their tragedies. And so my co-writer J.G. Blodgett, he's a good church man and what have you, but again, like me, he never wanted to write Hallmark type films. So there's a lot of subtextual messaging and things like that have higher echelon, I hate to say religious overtones, but just more spiritual overtones, getting you to think outside. And on top of everything else, being in school for 15 years, my first 2 years of film school was all production training, how to run the camera, how to run sound, how to run lights. Now that I moved into the 4-year school, my focus has changed more into theory. So there's a lot of like philosophical metaphors and things like that in the film that are implemented. So it's very, very thoughtful. Even though it may seem kind of simple, it's extremely thoughtful. Example of that is putting the lead in a yellow dress, surrounded in all of this like dark holes and pits and what have you. So those were conscious decisions to try to evoke some sort of emotion and thoughts, with the audience. It does. I hope that makes sense. I don't want to sound like a weird hippie, I'm more pragmatic, but sometimes I get in that zone. So.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, production crew. The listeners can't hear this, right? Okay, so once you say it, I will repeat it. Go ahead. Okay, so wait a second, Tony. So we're just working through is a little technical. The production crew here of Stogie Geeks. This is another element that we're adding to our interviews, where they get to ask some of the guests some questions. So the production crew here was reviewing the trailer, and one of the questions that came up was, what was the significance of the yellow dress compared to some of the surroundings from that, from her experience?
In relation to some of the other female characters as well.
Right.
Sure. On the nose answer is, we were trying to show that she was kind of naive to this sort of space that was referred to as the whole. That's the on the nose. You see it. She was, her backstory was, she's kind of was a high dollar call girl that was eventually falling off from her status. So now she's getting put down to, like, if you would, the minor leagues of sorts. And so she had to get almost like retrained into this new kind of mentality that some of these lower level call girls go through. A lot of this was based on a documentary that we watched. I can't remember the name of it right now, but when we were doing our research on human trafficking. But to go back to your question, the yellow dress on the nose is, okay, her innocence, her brightness, again, and just to separate her from the dark, because from beginning to end, by the end of the movie, she once again finds reconciliation. She finds a restoration of who she is. She contends with a lot of her historical history that a lot of the time in reality brings some of these victims of human trafficking and prostitution. A lot of them have been abused and hurt and have a lot of bad history with men. And so this kind of helps bring kind of this healing process of sorts, if that makes sense.
No, production crew has one more question. Please. Tony, can you hear them?
I can hear them fine.
Okay, so yep. Tony, why don't you just once Mark asks the question, can you repeat it for the Stogie Geeks audience and then answer it? That'd be great.
Repeat the question.
Repeat the question, yeah, because the Stogie Geeks listener can't hear the stuff from production. There you go.
Understood. Okay. What the message I was trying to portray with the movie was that though you may find yourself in a situation that seems dark, regardless of what that situation is, when you make the decision to fight through whatever you're going through, there is restoration, there is light at the tunnel, regardless of what position you may find yourself, regardless of where you are in life. That was our deep theme, that there are things that we don't see with our own eyes that influence us from beginning to the end of our life, and that you must always pursue that goal, that light at the end of the tunnel.
If I may, that specific genre and subject matter, should resonate well with viewership and well thought out. It's certainly the passion in the voice speaks to your life experience and where you go moving forward, with the film industry. Well appreciated. Oh no, I appreciate the feedback on that. You read some of the Amazon comments and some people like, I don't get it. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? It's a film to make you think. It's right. I was interviewed on another show a couple weeks back, and they asked, well, why wasn't there? You have a rape scene in there, but why don't you show any nudity? And it's that would be a little more exploitative and grindhouse type, and that's not what we were trying to sell. We were trying to expose the truth with taste, and not just try to sell it by just more
nonchalantly throwing a bunch of more story oriented.
Right,
exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well played.
I think that movies like that, when you can let the listener come up to his or her own conclusion, will intensify the experience of the movie for them, as opposed to you see a woman or male or whatever put in a situation, potentially what the situations could be. We all have vivid imaginations, so you can intensify that by tastefully doing that. That's a good technique.
And that's something that we've learned as film students and people that study film from Hitchcock. That you'll see a lot of hints of Hitchcock in there, just because of that very fact that you said. So,
Well done.
Yeah, no, I think that some of the classics do that. Hitchcock certainly one of them. Even some other mainstream movies that have that storyline where you can get into the psychological darkness. But the point of, regardless of any situation that you're in, and we face it, we live in a messed up world. There's some messed up things happening. You always try to figure out an out.
Situational awareness, and draw back to your roots, and where do you go from here? You gotta build on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Where could the Stogie Geeks listener find this movie, Life in the Hole?
Very, very simple. It is right now on Amazon, Amazon Prime. So if anyone that has access to Amazon, it's listed on there as Life in the Hole. If anybody likes the platform Vimeo, Vimeo is on there on video on demand. And I just found out by my aggregator, and this was actually some really good news, Fandango Online just picked it up. And so that's
Congrats.
A major
Nice.
accomplishment for us.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that they're still in the process of getting it digitally remastered or what have you for their platform. But they did pick it up, and I'm very, very happy with that. So that's something I could pat myself on the back for on that one. So
Absolutely. Now, how does that work business-wise? Switching gears before we talk about the second project, how does that work business-wise, like with the industry? So it never had the opportunity to play in theaters, correct? Or was it just at the local level? Okay. So now with the technology, now it can play within the consumer's home, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So how does that work? Like, I wouldn't, and I'm legitimately asking because every Stogie Geeks listener, I usually turn it into somewhat of a business lesson. It's just how my brain works, right? So how does that work? Like, do you send your trailer to different people and they make you an offer, or do you get X amount of royalties per play? I don't need to know the financial details, just other kind of the conceptual details.
Right.
Right, the mechanics. No,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to talk about that.
Awesome.
Again, I'll try to be very simple. So we're going to call this the traditional model. Somebody makes a film, they take it to a film market, such as like the American Film Market, AFM, that's held in Santa Monica, usually around every November. And what happens there, buyers and sellers, it's not really a film festival. It's people that have films and people that buy films.
Okay.
The traditional model will kind of marry these two people together and say, hey, I have a film. This is how much it is. The buyer then will either, hey, we'll license this for TV. We'll buy the rights outright. We can buy the rights only domestically. You keep the international. People that really hustle the international rights then can even go down to a different level and buy per territory, which would be basically per country.
Mm-hmm.
That's the traditional model. But this traditional model is the very thing that kind of messed me up with my first film, Pitching Hope. I got the distribution deal, and I'm sure you're aware of the music industry. Rather than the distribution company paying you a certain amount of royalties every year, they acquire more cost to keep your film on their catalog. Okay. So as you are incurring costs with them, any money that comes in is being reimbursed to the distribution company before they come to you. So I haven't, and I'm a little embarrassed to say, but then I'm not. I haven't seen one dime from my first film because of the distribution model,
kind of
the traditional model of right. So
yep.
Yeah, it really is. It's education. So the new model with the new digital platforms that we have, people can go, like filmmakers can go straight to Amazon if they want to, and people have been successful with that. Now, depending on how you list your film within Amazon per se, that specific platform, you can, if you submit it as free to watch for Prime members, then I think they pay you like maybe 20 cents an hour of viewed video, so that when people come on there, they watch the film, you're getting paid per minute. That's one way. Another way is that if people that aren't Prime members and have to pay the rental fee, then you split a certain percentages between you and Amazon. Now, the third way to do it is somewhere in between all that. You don't necessarily go with a distribution company, but there's a company, they're called aggregators. And basically what they do is they'll take your film, they'll make sure they QC it under specific technical requirements. They have you upload all of the various dimensions of your graphics and media and things like that. And then what they do is they're kind of like this hub for all of these other platforms, Amazon, Vimeo, Screenbox, Fandango Online, all these people. And they are like a hub, and they'll pitch your film to these other places, and these other places will come and look in their catalog for that. So what the aggregator does, there's many different business formats for the aggregator. Some aggregators will say, hey, for a $1,500 fee, we'll take your film and make it available to all the online platforms. The aggregator I'm with, Film Hub, they don't charge $1 to do any of this, but you end up paying them 20% of your sales on the back end.
Gotcha.
So for me, not having to front cash per se are good. There's other aggregators that say that they will get your film in front of Netflix for like a $900 fee.
Yep.
But there's no guarantee that Netflix will pick it up. They'll just get it in front of the eyes that make those decisions. So there's all these variations when it comes to getting your film specific on these online platforms. I'll be honest with you right now. I'm happy with Film Hub, but I'm not picking up as many platforms that I want because they're dealing with other films. They just can't talk about my film. And so now I'm learning the aggregator part. Like, do I have to reach out to the companies they're already working with to be seen? Because they're not just showing my film, they're showing everybody's film. So it's easy to get lost in the list of films that they represent. So I hope that makes sense to you.
To me, it makes perfect sense. It seems to me that you need to position yourself when you, like with businesses, I always talk about, you need to focus on building your assets so that you're better positioned within the marketplace. That's outside of Stogie Geeks, I have an advertising agency, so that's what we do.
Oh, okay.
Right. So
you absolutely understand that concept that you can have a product in the store, but if you don't have an audience, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter.
If you don't know it's in Walmart, it doesn't matter.
Right. It sounds like let's peel this back so that the Stogie Geeks listener could kind of understand the format. They go to this meeting similar to our IPCPR.
Right.
Hey, we have a target audience. We have all these retailers who sell cigars all around nation, world, whichever, categorized, right? They want your new product to come out. They want information about your new product. Here's the form that we deliver it in.
Yep. By
By the way, if you do business with this distributor, he or she has 10, 15, 20 cigar lines behind them. They can get you into 10, 15, 20 more shops.
Right.
Here's their commission structure, et cetera, and then it moves that way. So so it's pretty. I think I did a good job. What do you think?
Absolutely, and I know our Stogie Geeks viewership. We have some very intelligent listeners, and you certainly want to reach out to all different forums and see where it goes. Podcast and Stogie and cigar related forums as well. Hopefully it plays well for you. And we're curious at home, what are you smoking currently? Bring it back to cigars.
Like right now today, I guess Gilberto Olivia passed away a couple days ago.
Yes.
So I'm having Olivia G right now, just and
well played.
Just pay respect to him.
Well played.
And I love his cigars. But yeah, I mostly favor Nicaraguan tobacco.
Me too.
I know you guys aren't necessarily asking about how I got started smoking cigars.
No, we are going to get there. We are going to get there. We from my agenda, right? Just so the production crew and the listeners know, we're going to get into how you got started with cigars and all about Tony's World of Cigars, and then we're going to go, and then we're going to end with your 2018 project. How's that sound? Does that sound good?
Yeah.
It's a great
sounds
interview.
good.
It's going to be a
Sounds
great interview. So, speaking of Gilberto Oliva, I had one this morning
Nice.
to pay homage. That's what I was smoking when I came into the studio.
Excellent.
This morning. It's one of those things. So yeah, the Oliva series is amazing. I myself like Nicaraguan tobacco. So let's how'd you get started with that?
You know, the truth of the matter is when I was in Afghanistan, you know, there were different organizations sending us cigars. So, you know, we'd all want to feel like, oh, right, good tough guys after a good patrol, you know, or firefight or whatever. And we'd go back and we'd smoke some cigars. So I've always dabbled in them here and there. I actually had a cigar buddy in basic training teach me about real cigar use. We had a conversation. He's like, "Oh, I smoke cigars. Oh, what do you smoke?" And I told him, "I smoke Swisher Sweets." And he just looked at me with disgust and insult. And that weekend,
Fall with an open
Do
hand.
you know why? Do you know why now, Tony? Or no?
well, I do now. You know,
Yes,
I do now.
right.
So he took me to a humidor and schooled me up. And my first real cigar was an El Rey de Mundo. And we had coffee. We smoked cigars and we talked. And from that point, that planted the seed. But when I got back in 2010. My wife's a CNA, and we went to one of her patients' house for a party, and a gentleman there gave me a cigar, and I really started getting into it. But the tobacco beginning was a little tough for me because I didn't understand, medium body, full body, full flavor. So I ended up getting with a local cigar lounge here in Vegas, and they put me onto the Isla del Sol.
Oh yeah,
that's. And you know, that's Nicaraguan tobacco, Sumatra leaf wrapper that makes it sweet. But then it's also fermented with coffee beans. It's not like coffee infused.
That was my original introduction stick right there.
Drew Estate is. I know who it is.
I'm excited. He's sitting on my seat.
Drew Estate is a. They've done a very well job at creating a culture of incubating new, what I dub and what the industry dubs as well. It's not a Joe Zemperism, but you know, golfable is, but premium tobacco,
right?
Which, as opposed to some of the Swisher Sweets, some of the stuff was a machine-made product. That's the whole FDA going back and forth and all of that stuff now. But yeah, a lot of smokers haven't owned a retail shop and worked in one as well, and being within the industry for the past 18 years at some facet there. The Isla del Sol is a great entry-level stick for someone who wants to get into some premium tobacco products, especially, you know, you can't grab the biggest one, even though a novice says, well, the Gordo is only 80 cents more than the Robusto, so let me get more of a stick and let me get more of a tobacco. No. There is a difference with the sizes and all of that stuff there. So you started with Isla del Sol. You fell in love with the concept of cigars.
Absolutely, I fell in love with the culture, with and I don't know if you call it culture or what have you.
Oh, it's a culture, sir.
I fell in love with the fact that you could sit down with a stranger from a different economic class, with a different job, with a different political view. I mean, you could this thing that you sit down with just brings people together, and the truth of the matter is, it is legitimately relaxing.
Yes.
You know, it's not like cigarette chain smokers or anything like that. It is a legitimate, I don't even want to call it a vice because it's not a vice. It's a lifestyle. It's a legitimate lifestyle
passion.
that
It's
brings legitimate, it's a passion, yes. And a culture that just, I think, unifies people. It really unifies people. So I smoking Isla del Sol, I hooked up with another cigar guy here on my street, and he just kind of, along the way, he started busting my chops a little bit as to why do you keep smoking that? He's breaking my chops. So it got me to push a little bit more and experiment a little bit more, and then mixing different coffees, and then like we were talking about rum and things like that. Just beginning to broaden my palate, broaden my understanding, broaden the combinations to when I smoke cigars. You know, I mean, I'd rather smoke with people but I'm also a smoker that will just go out and back and just, if it's a long day, let me just go have a smoke and contemplate life.
That's
it.
Well played.
Well played. It's great for an outsider to have the same unsolicited sentiment as some of our insider interviews who
Absolutely.
say, okay, I own the cigar company and I love the unification and I love the camaraderie and I love it really is a barrier that there is no barrier. When you sit down with a fellow cigar smoker, certain things don't come into play. Race, preference, as long as you don't talk about politics, sex, and religion,
right?
Or sometimes sports, right?
Yeah.
But and you sit down with someone because you have a common interest in. I say this because there are a lot of Stogie Geeks listeners out there who purchase online and don't get to their local retail cigar shop. And let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with having your bodega. That's a garage, Spanish, right? Like I call them bodegas.
Yeah.
That is a Joeism. Like, oh, you smoke cigars only? You're La Bodega, right? There's actually a band called La Bodega. But anyway, right? So, you if you go to your local shop, you really get a beat in path as to, getting to know other people's stories outside of the cigars.
Very welcoming. Time stands still wherever you are. You're in the garage, you're in the lounge.
Yep.
It's a great forum to bring people together that normally probably wouldn't walk the same path.
Yep. If there's any Stogie Geeks listeners who are psychiatrists, I apologize, but this is a way better therapy than sitting on a long couch. And because you meet so many new people. Like we could probably do a Stogie Geek segment just on the people that we've met. We've
Phenomenal.
done some of the barriers that cigars have opened up for us. Telling our stories. But it's like it's amazing when you go down to your local retail shop and you get a chance to kind of fraternize with the guys or guys and gals now, and it's amazing. You get a beat on your town. You certainly hear the news, whatever,
right. Good,
bad, or indifferent, and you get to talk about the different blends. Oh, I like that. Oh, I never had that. Let me try that, and that still goes on. Even
I'm a filmmaker. What are you doing on Tuesday? Let's go.
Yeah, right. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a comedian. I think I'm funny, right? Absolutely. So what other types of cigars do you like to smoke now that you've graduated? I'm using your friend's word, not mine, right?
Right. No, that's very good. I'm going to go ahead and just talk free, and then you guys bring my chops tonight.
No, go for it.
I am a Rocky Patel fan. Now, you go to some of the boutique shops around here, and they're like, well, Rocky's okay, but sometimes he only has one farm, and I don't. It's like Rocky was my first love. I just smoked recently the Cincato, and if I'm saying that right, and that's supposed to be like, we're not telling you what tobacco's in there, but I'm telling you, I taste it, and I taste a significant difference. But on the other hand, his Edge, which is a Sumatra wrapper, which I favor, I don't like at all. So
I love the Edge Candela. You know the Candela wrapper, the green one?
Yeah. Oh, that got me high one time. I don't mess around with it again.
I love Candela wrappers. I know people, it's pronounced Candela. No, I say it the way I want to say it. That is if you want to,
it's a different experience.
Oh yeah, it's great. I love them. But anyway, so you like Rocky Patel's? Have you ever had the Gary Sheffield Rocky Patel?
No, I have not.
Yeah, Gary Sheffield. He played right field for Yankees. Came out with his stick. Had the opportunity to meet him when he was promoting his stick and whatnot. A lot of celebrities now are starting to have sticks. They have the Big Papi out here, who was Boston Red Sox. They have Gary Sheffield. Camacho makes one by Mike Ditka.
Ray Lewis.
Yep, keep going. You have any more? Right, all these celebrities want, and again, that is another segment within itself. But when it comes to Rocky, I like the Candela Edge. I do like the Edge series. I will tell you here from a Rocky Patel story. I don't know if you know this, but I used to own a retail shop back in the early 90s. and no, I'm sorry, back in the late 90s to the early 2000s, 99 through 2004. And Rocky Patel's first gamut at cigars was with Indian Tobacco. And it didn't do.
I just heard this story. Yeah. Just last week, as a matter of fact. So,
okay. Yeah. And it didn't do well. And then I remember, and I'm paraphrasing, so if any of the Stogie Geeks listeners, you're getting it wrong, right? I remember when Rocky Patel was ready to launch what we know now as his Rocky Patel series, they were saying how, well, you can't name it Rocky Patel. You're not of descent. You know what I mean? And he's like, no, I'm put my name on it. Then he released that Decade. I'm sure you had the original Decades.
That's my
that's
my favorite one.
And you know, I have argued with reps. I have argued with the man himself. I have argued with some of the echelon within the company. From there, the original Decades, I mean, they were so sought after here in the Northeast when they first came out. They were available on, you can only buy two.
Two at a time. Oh yeah.
Yep, they're only available. You can only buy two.
Wow.
It was a craze with the Rocky Patel, and then since then that has released. You know, like some of the other hype and whatnot. It has released. And in my time, cigar wise, there's only one other time that I know of, personal experience speaking, where we could only sell two. And that was the Opus X.
The Opus X, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it was one of those things where, you know, like,
benchmarks.
wow, like, you know, and so, you know, a lot of people might not like Rockies now if they're serious cigar smokers or if they're premium smokers because, you know, he built the machine, right? And now I look at it from a business perspective. There's no discredit towards Rocky. There's no disrespect. By the way, the views and opinions of this show reflect me, right? They reflect me, the co-host of Stogie Geeks, not Stogie Geeks, its management and or its staff, okay? There's my official disclaimer.
Tony can appreciate that.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
However, right, you know, you can't blame him for building a machine. You know what I mean? When it comes to marketing. Because if you look at Drew Estate, they built a machine as well.
Took on a life of its own. And,
yeah. I mean, you know, and you know something? As a business owner, okay, as a business owner who helps other business owners, and I look at that, whether you like the blends or not, whether they've changed blends or not, or you like the former Decade and you don't like it now, or you think, well, whatever you think, it doesn't matter. He built a machine.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So from a business perspective, if you build a machine, you got to pay the man credit. And not for nothing, he built a machine of which his first experience didn't do so hot. You know? So, you know, Rocky Patel's, they certainly, like other sticks, they have their place.
Stick-to-itiveness, drive. Certainly, Tony had spoke on his previous endeavor, and you can't be jaded and downtrodden. You gotta keep working. You gotta keep plodding along, and on to the next one. You know.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Gotta be hungry, babe.
Absolutely.
Have you gotten in your section now? You're locally in Nevada, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm in Las Vegas. Yep.
Okay, Las Vegas. All right, the
Las
city,
Vegas, baby.
the city that never sleeps. Right. See, I could never go to Las Vegas because I would come back. Did you ever see Castaway?
Yes.
I would come back like Tom Hanks.
Wilson.
I would have beard. I'd be talking to like objects. I would have cutoff shorts. The sweater would be dirty and like be stretched. The hat would be frayed. It would be crazy, right? But anyway, have you gotten into the boutique craze? And what I mean by that, some of the non-classic facings. Now I'm gonna stick Rocky in that classic facing thing. Like when I say classic, I mean Ashton, Arturo Fluente, Padron, like all the ones that have
right.
La Aurora, they've all been there for years. You know, have you gotten into any of the kind of boutique stuff there? And what's the culture like there at your local shop?
Okay. So if my definition of boutique doesn't align with yours, please correct me because this does show the kind of I don't want to call myself an amateur, but you know, I'm new. I've been smoking 4 or 5 years. Boutique wise, ingestion, my shopping for cigars, I usually have a rule, and this rule was taught to me by a cigar mentor of mine. When I go into any shop, where I'm in California, Nevada, I was in New Mexico a few months back, I always ask, hey, what's your boutique? Mm-hmm. Show me, I like something Nicaraguan. Mm-hmm. Show me something boutique Nicaraguan that you could suggest to me. So I go in. It's like shopping for ice cream. I love pecan praline. I do. But when I go to an ice cream shop, I don't always order pecan praline unless I'm just tired and I'm like, look, I just know what I want. Yep. But normally, if I'm there for 2 sticks or so, I'll go with a boutique. Like, show me what you got. Mm-hmm. I'm probably saying the brand wrong. I never can say it right. Tatuaje.
Tatuaje.
I usually go with them. Mm-hmm. Man, so many boutique brands. I can't recall. Like,
you can come back and think of it as because I am putting you on the spot, but it's
yeah.
But the Tatuajes, they came out at the same time as Viaje, and we know I can't go without a Stogie Geek episode without mentioning either Tatuaje or Viaje because they are in the category of a boutique, and how I personally categorize it is you have people who are newer on the market, and believe it or not, now the years keep adding up, but 12 years, 12 years or so, as opposed to the tradition 100 change years or 50 years, like Romeo and Julieta, classic facing, Ashton, classic facing, Camacho. Right? Classic, right? Yep. It's there, right? Yep. It's not as old, but, you have classic faces. But Tatuaje, when they came on board, some 10 so years ago, please, I don't need any hate email. Pete's been around for so many years, you know what I mean? How could you, Right. But, yeah, they make some really good stuff, for sure,
Would you say that Liga Privada is boutique?
Very good. Woo!
Well played, Tone. There you
go. I think
Tone's been doing it
based on your definition and what have you, but because Liga Privada, Papas Fritas, the Fat Rat, all those, those are my, hey, it's time to have a treat. You know what I mean? But I definitely like those brands. So.
Yeah. Very good question. Do you want to answer first?
I put them in that upper echelon boutique, and certainly they've gained tremendous legs everywhere, all around. So they're right on that edge of creeping outside of the boutique end. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be a Stogie Geeks episode if I didn't mention Christoph. Christoph's one of those that they're on the upper echelon boutique list that they're branching out too. They're everywhere, and
you just hit one for me. Christoph is another one of my go-tos. Also, Christoph. So
they've done a good job with here in the Northeast. My opinion,
right?
They were part of that original. I don't want to say revolution, but it really is a revolution.
Marketing deployment 101.
Yeah, it's these boutique cigars, whether we categorize them as boutique or not. They've put a dent into the classic facings.
Yes.
And the only way that I can articulate that to the Stogie Geeks listener is to just say imitation is the perfect form of flattery. Perfect. So in other words, Romeo and Julieta never had a Nicaraguan cigar, right? Never. And then all of a sudden, now they get into the Nicaraguan market.
Right.
And we could go on for days talking about that. Yep. Right? Avo. Mm-hmm. Right, Avo, right? The past 3 years, maybe 3 years with the Synchro series, right? Yep. Boom, there you go. So, when these boutique cigars, what they do, Tony, my opinion, and maybe Joe D's opinion, you can either back me up or tell me no, whichever. Right? That's why I love this forum, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the Stogie Geeks listener can always email Joe H or Joe D at StogieGeeks.com. We keep the conversation going. Or you can post up on Facebook or any of our social media platforms. But that being said, you want to, the classic facings are going against their grain to try to keep up. Getting to your question about the Liga Privada, right? I'm speaking from my experience and my interpretation of the development of the Liga series, right? from my experience, they work, and I'm sure I am going to get an email from Joe over from Drew Estate saying spot on or kid, you need some more practice. Either way, it's fine, right? With the Liga, and you have Drew Estate, they originally created that. It was released at a wedding. I know that because I've had actually one of the cigars from the original wedding from there. And then, the Drew Estate has its own following. Drew Estate has its own culture-like following. Drew Estate has its own marketing methodology, but they've also entered into the celebratory treat yourself cigar market.
Yes.
Right? Am I delivering this okay?
Yep.
Right? Good. I'm doing good, right?
Sounds good so far.
And so with that, we now enjoy the Liga series, and you have the pig, a flying pig,
Feral,
Feral, and you have all the other stuff there. So that being said, it's a business, and when you're in the business there, you have to be on your toes always. You can't just say, "Hey, we're Drew Estate. We make super awesome cigars for the entry level person," and no, they want to capture because the experienced cigar smoker wouldn't hang on the Isla del Sol forever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So they came up with something that is better grade tobacco quality, totally different cigar, totally different methodology. And so that being said, you have all of the different exchanges that the business entails. But,
and there's always moving parts. Certainly post Cigar Rockstar Steve Saka, that Liga still stands on its own. And it's in that, I like to call it the championship cigar realm. Certainly it's one of those a little bit higher priced you reach for. Mm-hmm. Special occasion. Maybe you don't grab for 3 in a day at the lounge. You want one. You're going to grab one and taste the beverage. Call it a day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Any other boutiques you've been getting into, Tony, or what?
Would you guys consider CAO boutiques, or are they? Because I'm a big CAO fan across the board with those guys.
Well, actually, we could. It's an interesting discussion because they've gone through some transition as well. Some people have left the company and have started their own separate entity.
Right.
I have reviewed some of those sticks as well from there. Let's just stay on the subject. What do you like from CAO?
Oh my gosh, naming all those individual ones. Can I just? I'm going to sound like an adolescent.
Just give me two.
Can I just
give me two, Tony.
I like the Brazilian one. I definitely like the Brazilian one.
The La Brasilia.
And then also,
how about that Amazon?
What was the one with the American?
The Americana.
Yeah.
The Americana.
Americana.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I don't know that's my patriotism, but you know what? That was a real good cigar. The thing that I know, though, that I can stand on with a little bit of confidence when it comes to what I like and that I'm not just chasing brands. A lot of the time, again, I'm smoking things that are suggested by the shop owners, not knowing the real disposition of the cigar. And sometimes when I'll have a cigar not knowing what it's made of, I'm like, yeah. And then I'll have another one, oh, I really like it. And then later on, I figure out what I've been smoking. I'm like, yeah, I really do like Nicaraguan, and I'm not a great fan of Dominican, but I'm gonna throw one out that I feel is boutique, and you guys please correct me if I'm wrong. And it is a Dominican tobacco. It's the Amadeus. It's like a white label Amadeus Connecticut wrapper, and that is a beautiful cigar for the morning with your coffee. It doesn't blow your palate out. It's good to warm up with in the morning, and I just love it. I love it. So
yeah, see,
I don't know if you're familiar with that brand.
I'm slightly familiar with it. It's every cigar has its place. You know what I mean? Like you said, yeah, it's a lighter cigar. It's Dominican, but you know something? I like it with X coffee, or I like it with rum, or I like it in the morning. Yeah, absolutely.
In the morning.
Yep, absolutely.
Exactly.
What I'm hearing, Tony, is too. You're reaffirming what we we try and beat home here on Stogie Geeks. Joe and I, Paul. We've had this discussion many times, but that education process. You're doing all the right things. Certainly, I've been smoking 6-7 years, but doing the right things, asking the humidor attendant, the shops, the feedback, and certainly, and you have your experience with that cigar right then and there. However, you choose to revisit second or third, maybe you garner some of that education and intelligence behind the cigar and the feedback, and it makes for a more enjoyable experience. And now you're an educated consumer. You know, speaking of Joe's business end of it, that's ultimately the goal. I feel, you know, you're enjoying the stick more. You're educated. You're also going to, in part, educate friends as well and keep it going. That's what it's all about.
Well, you know, and it's funny that you use that term education. You know, I'm just, you know, I've always tried to protect myself, my reputation, and the things I think about myself of not trying just to be a poser or that guy who's at a bachelor party walking around with a stick and he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, I try, if I'm going to spend money and buy cigars, if I'm going to smoke cigars, if I'm going to talk about cigars, I really, really want to know what I'm doing and be able to at least a little bit articulate, you know, again, the culture we're talking about. I have an older Italian gentleman friend. He's actually from back east too. I believe he's from Brooklyn. He's out here now, retired school teacher. He actually did a little mini class with me, and this was like one of the best classes. And if people want to, I would suggest this class when it comes to wanting to really get to a level of understanding the different tastes and the nodes and things of cigars. It was a packet where you had a little Robusto cigar, and then with that packet came individual, like almost cigarellos, which was just wrapped with the binder. And then you just smoke the wrapper by itself, and then the different fillers. And you really have to sit there and focus.
Pay attention to it.
Those individual elements and analyze it and talk about it and what part of region is this from. I mean, it was very, very analytical. And then at the end, you smoke the whole cigar, and then all of a sudden now you can taste all these different nuances that you were tasting by smoking those individual elements. I know I don't expect everybody to do that, but for me, wanting to really, really understand, you know, I don't want to say I want to keep up with everybody. Go, oh, I taste leather and a little nut, and there's some marshmallow. But I really want to. But on the other hand, I do want to taste those individual nuances. Right. And that is how I start. And I'm not perfect by any means, but this is how I started to educate myself on more in-depth levels of cigar consumption.
Did you remember the name of the seminar or no? Like, was it?
You know, it wasn't a seminar. It was just there's a brand out there that sells these little like
blending
packets in this.
Exactly. It's called a blending kit. Was it red? Was the box red?
Oh, yellow. It's kind of like a mustard yellow label, if I remember right.
So Jose Blanco maybe.
No, Jose Blanco is a one. I guess it's Toro size, and then you smoke through. The cigars all connected. The La Aurora series,
that's a red box, I believe.
Is a red box that actually separates it into that. But yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of them over there.
Yeah,
those are fun. Those are absolutely fun.
I wonder if I'll probably email Willie, find out if they were originally yellow, because they could have switched from yellow to red.
Absolutely different.
Because it sounds like he's in that. We've actually done that. I've actually, when I started co-hosting the show here with Joe, I've actually taken myself through the blending kit, and I've actually wrote it in my little black book. I travel around with a little black book, and I'm prepared to do a show on that as a filler show.
Yep.
Taking it through, and I've actually pulled out.
It's a fun process. It really is.
It's a really interesting process. So, you know, check with your local retail tobacconist. I think they do them on a like every other year basis because, you know, as time progresses, you know, people, oh, is that the same guy we did last year? Yeah, all right, I might not go or whatever. But yeah, it's you owe it to yourself to kind of educate yourself because, you know, if you enjoy premium tobacco, it is an educational process.
And yeah, you know? It's fun to geek out about it. You know, we do it every week on the show. But,
yeah,
we do it probably a little bit more than most. We basically do it every day, but it's it's an ongoing process, man. And just like yourself with the filmmaking, it's a learning process all the way through. Every movie's going to be, you got to tighten it up in various points. And I'm curious to hear your take on this new movie as well.
Yes. Before we get to the new movie and wrap up the interview, I have one more cigar question for you. Not to put you on the spot, and there's no judgment, and I will help you. I will help you out with the pronunciation if you or the label if you describe it and whatnot. I might not get the blends right because I don't speak Spanish, but anyway, right? We have a rating here on Stogie Geeks, One of the two highest ratings is Fight Chuck Norris, meaning that if you had this stick, in order for you to finish the stick, you would have to fight Chuck Norris for it. And then we have another, and then we have another rating. Then we have another rating called the Oasis, meaning, you know, you're all by yourself, world doesn't exist. What cigar would be your unicorn cigar, or your Oasis, or your Fight Chuck Norris? If you could have one more cigar, and this was it, you have one more cigar, what would it be?
Deathbed cigar. Where
if
we
you
going?
need time to think about it, we can do the movie part, and then you got to end with that. But you got to remind me, because sometimes I forget and say, okay, next episode, and there you go. But yeah.
I know right now because I have 2 in my humidor right now.
Give it to us.
And and they've been sitting because I wait for special occasions.
There you go.
I like it. Is there a story behind these cigars too?
I went to a lounge. I brought my wife to for our anniversary. The guy gifted me one because it was our anniversary, and that's. I believe it's the Padron 1924.
Yep.
Is that the right?
1926.
1926. Yep.
What I say? Oh, okay, there you go.
You're right there. You're right there. You got it.
Give or take a few years. It's good. Yep.
It would be the Padron, and I'll tell you why. That the reason is listen. And maybe you guys could suggest something now or later or what have you. But I'm always looking for that $5 smoke that just tastes great. I think Brick House is relatively close to that. But when you're paying $15, $20 a stick, I guess with Padron I can speak for at least.
Yep.
You're tasting the quality. It's not just the taste, but it's the draw, it's the burn, it's the smoke. If you're smoking a legitimate $20 cigar, you're getting that $20 experience.
You get lost in it, Tom. You get lost in it.
I'm telling you, and you don't fight the draw. The taste doesn't burn you. The smoke is just right. I mean, everything is just primo. So yeah, that would have to be my. Yeah, I'm ready to throw down with Chuck Norris to get to the Oasis.
You need help, Tony, call me. Right?
Natural or Maduro? Was it natural or Maduro? Do you know?
Maduro.
There you go. Well played.
Yeah. That's.
I like sweet. My palate is very sweet. I drink this Orono because it's sweet. Francelico, it's sweet. Rum, sweet. Maduro, sweet. I have a sweet palate. I'm a sweet guy. I've got a Christmas hat on today. I mean,
yeah. You and I seem to have similar palates. I like rum. I love coffee. I love Di Serono can turn any cigar.
That's been my go-to as of late. Yeah,
Di Serono can turn any cigar into a treat.
Yeah.
It's like in the wine. You know how they give you the aerator. You know the aerator? You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
It can turn any $5 bottle of wine into a $10 bottle of wine, or any $10 bottle of wine into a $20 bottle of wine. Definitely worth your $15 for the aerator, right? If you don't lose a little screen in it, lasts you a good 10 years, right? Best $15 you ever spent, because any bottle of wine is good. And I drink a lot of wine, almost daily, but I like wine.
Little sacrament,
with or without cigars. And I've done a whole series of wine pairing, and we're due for one soon. I got some more. Some more
holiday special.
Yeah,
let's go.
But I always do it if it's new to me. I always try it without the aerator first, and then I do a little aerator and experiment a little bit with that. And I think that again, it's like that educational journey. That's what I love about spirits. That's what I love about craft beer. That's what I love about wine. That's what I love about cigars. It's that really self journey for you to find and take time out. It doesn't necessarily have to be with a cigar in hand all the time, but just take time out of this crazy world. You know what I mean? You turn on the news and you're like, oh my God, did that just happen? Yeah, that did just happen. It's on the news. And if you're like me and you're Italian and you're animated, you're like, oh my God, there's got to be another planet out there with smarter people. But anyway, right? I love that process. So, but yeah, the Padron, getting back to your Fight Chuck Norris, it really does take you back, It really does take you back. I'll PM you over on Facebook some other smokes that are not in that price range, but you might want to seek out. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
I mean, this is
for sure,
because
I don't want to start. I don't want to start an
find
email war. You know what I mean? But there really are a lot of cigars out there that can be that take you back, and if you listen to some Stogie Geeks episodes, either from the past or I will say within the future, when right after your segment we do a Stogies of the Week segment, and some of those I say it just takes me back. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Like it's just like you have to stop what you're doing and just thoroughly.
And we try to encompass all price points, classic versus boutique, the whole thing. We really try and get the full gamut and appreciation, and hopefully it resonates well with the listeners as well. They're smoking the full gamut as well along with this. So,
you have a website where people can track you, find you, stay in touch with you?
Absolutely, I do. The website is thenextshot.tv.
Okay.
So, again, thenextshot.tv.
Nice.
Thenextshot.tv. Production crew, if you could throw that in our notes for our social media, that'd be greatly appreciated. Now, before we let you go, you have a new show.
Okay.
You have a new project that's coming out in 2018.
Ride hard, live free.
Ride hard, live free. I like it.
Yep.
Was this like a motorcycle thing? What is it? Take us through it.
Okay, yeah. It's Sons of Anarchy meets Mad Max. There's my elevator pitch.
Really?
Right there. So
I'm intrigued.
Yeah. So it takes place. The story takes place basically in the near future. If you could imagine America basically just collapsing and all the guns and ammo either being confiscated or used.
Oh, you mean like currently as we're talking?
No, we're going to talk politics. So if you can imagine Hillary Clinton being elected president, and then 4 years after that, no,
we don't talk politics, sex, or religion on Stogie Geeks.
I was kidding. Take it easy. Okay, no, but no, so it's a near future. The government's collapsed, guns, ammo are gone. You put a little girl in this world, and the film follows this little girl as she navigates this southern desert, the southern Nevada desert of this kind of worn-torn country of where we've collapsed. Mm-hmm. And basically what the film is about, she ends up getting locked into an abandoned RV where she discovers a gun and an ammo. Mm-hmm. She's chased into this by a bunch of biker clans that don't realize what's in there. And then the film is this like cat and mouse chase with them, with all of them discovering, oh wow, there's a gun. Oh wow, there's ammunition. There's a cache here, and nobody has seen or heard of these things for over 50 years. And so now it becomes a cat and mouse chase with them trying to get her out and her fighting them off and what have you. What I'm very proud about with this specific film is this is my first SAG film. This is my first. I've worked with talented actors for a lot of years. This is the first time that I've used like SAG name talent. Emilio Rivera, who starred in Sons of Anarchy, he'll be in the upcoming Mayan show. He did a cameo appearance for us. R.A. Mihalhoff, who played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw 3. We got Tim Corselli, who is in Full Metal Jacket. Just an array of actors with professional talent that, I was able to test my acting chops on, and I think they would say I did well. We got it done, with a lot of complications as that happens.
Right.
But it's shaping to be a really nice film. So,
when is it expected to release?
We're going to say mid 2018. I'm probably on the last 2 minutes of the rough cut right now. After we get the rough cut in, color correcting and design only takes about a month or so while someone else is working on music. So we're shooting for like mid 2018.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Tony, also, Barstow, California's own. You've got a couple military installations nearby, the Marine Corps Logistics Base, the Fort Irwin National Training Center. I'm wondering, kind of a two-part question. That, along with several celebrities, are Barstow's own. I'm wondering if that, along with the fact that the rich mining history of Barstow, if you have any projects you're working on, you're contemplating moving forward tying in some of those celebrities, maybe some of that rich mining history, if you've contemplated any of that moving forward?
I can't say necessarily that I've contemplated movies per se that deal with the mining or what have you. Emilio Rivera was a fantastic actor to work with. He's just so hard work. You think that some of these Hollywood actors, you hear these horror stories of like how prima donnish they are and how high maintenance they are. Emilio Rivera was so hard working. You would think it was his first film he've ever done, the way he just worked and performed for me. So I would, dealing with the Southwest Desert, I would maybe contemplate maybe doing some type of Western. I've never done a Western. I've never written a Western, but maybe we could. The only mining film I've ever thought about was a zombie mining film. If you go back to the old days, old miner, he's cracking around trying to get coal or gold or something, and it hits something in the rocks and it spurts out on him, and he's a zombie, and then it just spreads. But outside of that, a real story around that, not really right now, but
also with that rich military history in your own home neck of the woods, your current military as well. Have you been approached by aspiring actors come from that military background that certainly appreciate your service to the country that want to get on board?
Yeah, once in a while, every time it's kind of fun, at work when people find out that I'm doing films and now I'm built, obviously in the military, being built into a network of just a couple hundred folks here and there with different units. So everyone's got a good idea, and everybody would like just to jump in and be an extra. The cool thing is with this Ride Hard, Live Free, I did have a female soldier who served with me, and her first name was Zyra. And I don't know how cool this is, but her first name was Zyra, and she's such a young, hard-charging female soldier that, she keeps up with the guys, no problem. I said, you know what? I'm going to name my lead character after your first name just because, the name is cool, but she's a solid soldier. So, I definitely wanted to exemplify that young, strong female type character.
Awesome.
Well done, Tone.
Awesome. A little bit of homework for you, sir. If you could time it about a month before you're about to launch or whatever, please get back in our rotation. If you know you have a launch, and email Joe H. at Stogie Geeks or Sam or contact us like you did before, and we'll get you in rotation to build some hype around the release for your movie.
Absolutely.
And if you have a trailer there before, you can email us and we'll play the trailer and all of that stuff too. We'd like to hear from you. And
absolutely,
and do that there. Now, I'm not one of those. What are they? They're not called arbiters. Arbiter. What are they called? What's the
aggregator?
Aggregator. I'm not a film aggregator, right?
Right.
But we do have a loyal audience here who I know that will definitely check out some of your movies and some of your work and stuff like that. And I think it'd be pretty cool to for us to when it gets released, interview you again.
Hear it first, yeah.
We'll talk some more cigars. Hopefully the trailer will obviously be done by then. We can play the trailer, chat about cigars. Maybe you can add to your list of boutiques as long as you stay away from
Isla del Sols. I'll be ready. I'll have a list next to me of all the different names. This one, this one.
Right, absolutely. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you, sir.
Merry Christmas to you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. It was a privilege and an honor. Thank you for your service. Privilege to talk to you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Tony Mendoza. Check him out. Go to our wiki page, and you'll be able to check out all of his work. And stay tuned, because he's got some more stuff coming. Coming up next is the Sticks of the Week. We'll be right back. Episode 256 of Stogie Geeks. If you're just tuning in, you gotta hit replay. Awesome interview with Tony Mendoza.
Awesome.
His future looks bright.
Yep. Paid his dues. Now he's coming to play.
Absolutely. We also,
I'm excited.
The first segment of episode 256, we talked about some house sticks. Very good conversation with my co-host, Joe D.
Yeah, baby.
I'm filling in as host this week. Joe Hozempa here on episode 256 of Stogie Geeks. This is the time, I think, that most of you pay attention to, and that is the sticks of the week. Both mine and Joe D's are posted up on our wiki site for this week. Check them out. You can go there by logging on to stogiegeeks.com. Click on the Facebook icon. The crew here, who's doing such a remarkable job,
As always,
will give you the link to the wiki site for sure. What have you been smoking?
some tasty gems. First for me is the La Giana Maduro. I believe started as a house stick up in New Hampshire. Two guys, and has gained real prominence and bridging that gap into shops nearby. Ecuadorian wrapper, Honduran binder and filler. This is a $6 stick, box of 20, 6 sizes. I smoked the Robusto 5x50. The La Giana Maduro is under the United Cigar banner, created 22 years ago after owner Dave Garofalo's named after his daughter. And chocolate, marshmallow, subtle spice, a little sweetness. Gianna, the meaning for that is God is gracious. And they also have a Connecticut as well. This was an absolute box split for me. Real legit, enjoyable stick. And certainly at that price point as well. $6, worth reaching out for. And if it's not in your local shop, maybe you hit up two guys and reach out to them.
Yeah. Throw him a card. He'll ship it.
So, oh, yeah.
You know?
They do.
Absolutely.
They do.
Absolutely. Was that your first experience with that?
La Giana Maduro, first one I had. And, stopped me in my tracks. I said, you got to be kidding me. Well, I always come in with the, kind of that house stick, regional release type of deal. I limit those expectations. And it was enough to put it on the map for me as a box split, and certainly every time I hop out to New Hampshire, which should be pretty frequent coming up, I'm going to grab one or a box split worthy.
Really awesome,
Yeah.
Good price point too. I never had one. Do you have any more left?
I'm going to get one for you next time I go, which should be next week.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah,
nice.
Yep.
What are you going up there for?
Little business.
Oh, all right.
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't know if you were going to make any more debuts.
I'm going to sit in for that Cigar Authority show. I'm going to be in the audience, friend of the show. Oliver Naveau is going to be on, so I want to pop up, see those guys, and I don't think I'll be tagged in, but you never know.
Did you ever meet him, Oliver?
He was on the show with us.
Oh no, was he? Okay, yeah. No, I was going to say he was
not,
here in studio.
Not last week. He's crisscrossed on the country, but he's going to be back in town. He's one of the co-hosts on Ash Holes, another fellow podcast show. Great dude, local guy in Massachusetts, and I want to touch base with him and hang out and have a stick. See where it goes.
Look at you.
Yeah, man.
Pick me up one.
Oh, yeah.
Pick me up one. I haven't had one. I'd like to give an assessment of that for sure.
Definitely.
I had Camacho Liberty 2017.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 6x54. They apparently made 3,500 boxes, total of 70,000 cigars.
Mm-hmm.
The wrapper is Ecuadorian Habano. The binder is Honduran Criollo. Woo! I'm getting good.
Yeah.
Right. The filler is a Dominican Palito Cubano with Nicaraguan Criollo 99. On my scale, complexity, flavor, and balance. Complexity, I gave it a 6. Flavor and balance, I gave it a 7. I was getting fairly mild notes of black pepper, spice, with a little bit of wood and some earth. So let me take us through that, right? Mild notes of black pepper, some spice,
Yep.
a little bit of wood and some earth. Stayed pretty much through that throughout the stick. I started picking up a saltiness component from the stick. I was pleasantly surprised.
Nice.
Like I was like, wow, like it was a refresh from the pepper, white pepper, black pepper.
Right.
Yep. It was pretty refreshing. With that being said, price point could be argued for sure.
What are we looking at for a price point?
You're at 20, 25.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a concept in business of if you want to treat yourself, maybe, not every Stogie Geeks listener or not every cigar consumer can just say, meh, you spring on that.
Right.
That being said, if you want to break away, when I'm trying to give it a rating, if you want to break away from a traditional, this is what a celebratory stick could be. That being said, I did give it a 5. If I could create a new category, a split sum with a friend, just because, I don't know, like I don't know too many consumers that would, go around and rocket that. But
I'm of the mindset, we try and do our due diligence here, honest assessment. I like to take, I certainly like to take that price point into consideration.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we did, money was no object, price was no object, but you do have to consider. And at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, if you
5 is certainly no gaff rating. It just it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, but at that price point, in my opinion, you need to be at least that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yep. It wasn't anything like stop the world, but it had some interesting nuances in it. It was good.
That said, half the price. Where does that rating go?
It would definitely go up.
There you go.
It would definitely go up because I try to take that into consideration. I think
we're trying to give the Stogie listeners.
I honestly think from the feedback that I have been getting back from the listeners at joeh@stogiegeeks.com, and by all means, you want to engage Joe D. He's online now. Joe D at stogiegeeks.com. I think that one of the constant themes of feedbacks in the initial "Hey Joe, like the show, by the way, love how both you and Joe D are articulating and including some of the price point." I don't try to make it all price point, but I think that is a factor.
It's worth mentioning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when you get into that realm of the the upper echelon of price points.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do it.
Good news is for me, it was gifted to me.
Oh.
But by
works.
a shop owner. But I don't want to do it unjust by saying, okay, try one because of the price point. It is a good stick.
Right.
It is a good stick. But not for nothing, if you're in that price point, you need to be a good stick.
Right.
And that's all.
Oh, honest assessment. Next to me was the Crux Passport, the Lancero. I'm a Lancero guy. This thing was right in my wheelhouse. 2009 Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, Habano Viso binder, Nicaraguan filler, $7 price point, 20-count box, 3 sizes available. I smoked the Lancero 7x40, cocoa, pepper, and leather. These are notes that I typically like to seek out for sure. Flawless construction, huge smoke production, medium plus on the stick, and this was a box worthy all day. This is probably my favorite thus far of the Crux line. Haven't smoked the newest Epicure, which is out. I've yet to find it in any of the shops locally. Still seeking that out, but this is at the forefront for sure from Crux for me. Lancero form.
Yep. What was it again?
It was the Crux Passport.
Mm-hmm.
Blue label.
Yep.
Lancero form all day. Yep.
Yep. Available in 5-packs as well.
Yes.
Yep. From the original. That was part of the original gig when they came out. Yeah.
Yep. Nice note. Yep.
Yeah, it's a good stick. What was the one you were looking for?
The Epicure.
Yeah.
It's got a red label. It's the newest of, I believe, 13 that Crux offers. 12 or 13.
It wasn't an old firehouse, no? When you were there?
No, it wasn't. No, and I asked specifically
for that,
Manager John for that. Yeah. I haven't found it yet.
Okay.
So to be continued.
Yeah.
Hopefully by the first of the year we'll see that down here a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna see him in a couple of days. Maybe I'll see if he can crush and send them because I know he does do a bunch of stuff with them.
Even better. Nice.
You know, do you know any local shops that carry clocks? I'm not putting it on the spot. I'm just trying to, because like I said, to
Mr.
me,
J's Savannah shop in West Warwick.
Okay.
Front of the show. Beyond that, I haven't seen Crux in any other shop around here.
All right. So if you haven't seen it in your travels or my travels,
Actually, I grabbed this particular stick up in New Hampshire when I was up there.
Okay.
But I do know John has it at Old Firehouse.
Okay.
The passport. That
Oh
is.
yeah, yep, absolutely. Well, I ran into our friend who was almost a popsicle, Willie.
He was out of his element up here in New England. Yeah. Poor guy.
Last week, I ran into Willie, who we've had on the show here from La Aurora.
Willie Morante.
And he had his thick sweater.
Oh, yeah. Scarf in tow. Oh, yeah.
And he was like, it's so cold up here.
Well, we're legitimately in the winter segment now.
And I said, dude, wait till February. He's like, I'm not coming back till like March or April. I was like, smart man.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
I ran into Willie and had the opportunity to smoke with him the La Aurora Preferido Broadleaf. Had the Robusto size. This is a 5x50. Wrapper is broadleaf. Binder is Dominican. Filler is Dominican with Cameroon with some Brazilian fillers in there. Complexity, I gave it an 8. Flavor, I gave it a 7. Balance, I gave it an 8. Earth and espresso is what came to that. When you smoke them, there are the upgrade sizes, the Preferido sizes, and all of that stuff. Then they have their other level there.
Yep.
There had the Robusto size. To have Earth and Espresso, it was a refreshing mix of the non-traditional pepper,
right,
over in the far front.
In that size specifically too, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. When you get that size and you get that price point, box split.
Yep.
Box split. If that breaks the bank, box split with a friend. But my opinion, I would probably box split all day.
I don't know if the listeners are playing at home with your rating system, but I always like to throw a little pre-guess in there where you're at with it. And I figured you were on for a box split right there.
Yeah.
Those ratings and that size, those notes. Yeah. Yep.
It's available in a couple of different sizes. I don't know. I was digging the Earth and Espresso over at the forefront. That's the notes that I would give it.
Nice.
That was the La Aurora Preferido Broadleaf. Again, I had the Robusto size. I gave it a box split.
Solid. Next for me was the Espinosa Maduro. Found this randomly one of the shops in New Hampshire. I haven't seen it anywhere down here. Mexican Maduro wrapper.
Like I said in the beginning of the show, welcome home.
Yeah, right. Nicaraguan
You're not
binder
moving to New Hampshire, are you?
Not yet.
All right. I'm trying to throw you off, right?
$7 price point, 4 sizes. I smoked the 6 3/4 by 46 Corona Gorda. Eric Espinoza, as some may know, is the owner of La Zona Factory in Esteli, Nicaragua, also known for the La Aranja cigar, which is ridiculous. One of my personal favorites. I've got one of those sticks I'm going to review next week as well. Cocoa Earth.
That you got from New Hampshire?
No, I was gifted from Mr. Robert Holt, personal friend of Eric Espinoza. I reached out to him before he came up, for the visit up here in New England. I said, I got to get this stick. I got to try it. But,
you do realize that you weren't going to appear on there and get unscathed, right? Okay. Just don't know.
Nice. The Cocoa Earth, spice and sweetness, very slow burning cigar. As of note, it was a 2+ hour smoke, and medium plus, box split all day, and the Espinosa Maduro. Blue label, haven't seen it down here at all. I don't even know if there is a shop that currently carries it, but worth seeking out for sure.
No, do you have a picture of it?
Yep.
Yeah. Offline, I'd like to see a picture of it. I've heard of it. Going through my Rolodex.
Got the band on me in the bag?
I have not seen it around here. Heard of it, had it back in the day. I couldn't articulate a review.
Yep.
I remember it being very good within my travels. You
I was
gave
up-
it a box split?
Give it a box split. I was up in a random shop after working hours. Southern Drawer owner Robin Holt was finally grabbing some sleep after 4.5 days of being up straight, being up the entire time. Little known shop, and there was a live band playing, phenomenal live music. Happened to run into the cigar, so give it a shot. It did not disappoint.
Where were you?
It made for the night. And
What's the name of the shop?
drawing a blank on the shop.
Oh!
I'm drawing a blank on the shop now.
It's up in New Hampshire.
Up in New Hampshire. Maybe I'll make note of it for future shows. But it's a place that I'm purposely going to seek out when I'm up there doing some business. I'm going to seek out a particular band that was playing too. Husband and wife team, phenomenal. All the just really musically talented people.
Not to sidetrack, but I guess the whole episode's been that way, so why not?
Right.
Bright idea getting some live entertainment into cigar shop culture.
So enjoyable.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's because it's different than the Element. You know what I mean? It's better than any news station. Just saying.
No, New Hampshire's pretty much on par with Renown with the cigars, the lounge, relaxing lounge feel. If you can tie in some live music as well, it creates that entire experience for you.
Yeah.
You get all the check marks.
Yeah.
Espinosa Maduro.
Hold on to your seats. I had something by Drew Estate.
Okay.
I had the Sweet Jane. Okay. Now, there's a story by Sweet Jane and the Three Sisters and all of that stuff. And, I was going to read it, and I have it prepared, but I'm not going to read it. There. If you want to figure it out, you can email me or you can Google it. There's a whole story. You know the whole story?
Yep.
Okay. So there's a whole story there. But I did have all three of the series. That being said. But for the review, I had the Sweet Jane by Drew Estate. The size was a 5x46. Complexity, I gave it a 5. Flavor, I gave it an 8. And balance, I gave it a 7. The wrapper is dark. You get a similar aroma to some spiced tobacco. You get some hints of mocha and a touch of earthiness for sure.
Yep.
Right? With that there. What I was shocked at from my reviews is that it's not one of their infused cigars.
Do you get that initially? You're thinking it was going to be along those lines?
Well, I mean, I've always subsided from that from the infused. Although I do, if I've had a long day, cigar wise, personally, and what I mean by that is, break of summer, you wake up, you're golfing around 8, you play 18, you've had 2 cigars,
yep,
you've taken a break, you've ate at the clubhouse. Chances are, if you got time on your schedule,
you're going to pencil another one in.
You're going to end up at a cigar shop,
yep,
right?
Yep.
Especially if you roll out with us. I'm talking about like the glory days, the summer, right?
Yep.
You go to a cigar shop, you have another stick. Okay, great. Your evening activities might include another cigar. Say you're 3-4 deep.
Yep.
I go to a Cuba Cuba.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I'm just like, because you're just like, you're done. You know what I mean? And,
palate is destroyed.
Your palate, you're certainly not going to review anything. If you've drank it on the golf course, drank it at the cigar shop, there, you kind of go back to there. But that wasn't the case there because there was snow on the ground here. But I did come across that stick. With that being said, I did give it a 5. I was amazed that it didn't go through that exact infusing process.
But you've tried all 3 sizes, so pretty.
I'd give them all 5s.
Right.
They have that Deadwood tobacco. They have the story behind it.
Yep.
And all of that stuff. If you want that story, you can email me at joe@stogiegeeks.com. I will provide that for you. But you can pretty much check that out on the Drew website and stuff like that. But it's one of those sticks that it again, like a lot of other sticks, it does have its place. I had smoked 2 strong sticks at that point, and I had, an extra hour at the shop, and we were watching MMA fights and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, let me try it. And I did enjoy it, Cool. I did enjoy it.
Nice.
Did you ever have it?
No, I haven't. No,
Yeah,
try the Deadwood and the third installment, which the name escapes me right now.
The Fat Bottom Betty or something like that? Yep.
Yeah. Haven't had the Sweet Jane. That was, I was still to try that one.
Yeah. Again, based upon our activity, where you go a couple sticks deep, it's refreshing on the palate.
Yep.
They're solid sticks. They're solid sticks. I can see, future-wise, with a little bit of marketing, how people digress to the Isla del Sol.
No, there's a market for it,
yeah, I can see them going to that stick there, too.
Right.
For sure.
Yep. Nice. Next for me was the Southern Draw Quick Draw Habano in the new size, the 5x46 Corona Gorda. Ecuadorian Dark Habano, Nicaraguan binder and filler. 5 3/4 price point, box of 25. This is third size of the quick draw line, Petit Corona and Short Panatello being the other 2. Wood, natural tobacco, and sweetness, so the notes I was able to pull. Also available, the Pennsylvania and Connecticut in that new size, the Corona Gorda that's coming out. This was a true medium for me and a box-worthy stick. Not just because tied in with the company, but it really blew my socks off. I wouldn't put necessarily the Petit Corona and the Short Panatella, in that higher echelon. I'd probably rank them in like a 5er range. But in that Corona Gorda size, it really those flavors and the smokability really jumped off the table and box worthy for me.
Mm-hmm. What was it again?
The Southern Draw Quick Draw Habano with that green label. Mm-hmm. Gave it one of those. I'm curious to see where you're at as well.
Yeah. When you had given it to me, I looked at the time and I said, "No, I'm not going to do it justice. So I'll wait." And
soon to be hitting the shops. They're not even out there yet. But I was fortunate enough to get one chipped off from the owner Robert Holt there, and it stopped me in my tracks.
Really?
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. I do have it. It's sitting next to my car keys over here in the studio, ready to go. I'm probably gonna get to that tomorrow or Wednesday.
Nice.
Depending on my tomorrow.
Excellent.
Yeah. Right now, what is this, whiskey we're drinking?
Yeah, we're on the second round of Jefferson's, and they're going down pretty good.
Yeah, I'm borderline.
I was going to go easy today, but
I'm borderline 86 in MMA today, and going tomorrow, right? And continuing next door with the stick. But I'm not there quite yet. Depends on my focus, right?
Cheers, listeners.
Depends on my focus, right?
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
How many more you have?
2 more. I can jump in another one if you like.
No, I have 2 more as well. So we'll go tit for tat, I guess.
Yep.
I really dig this stick, and every time I still smoke it, I do get a slightly different experience with it. Okay, I'm talking about the MLB Cigar Ventures Imperia. Okay. I've experimented with all of the sides. I've had the Pita, the Robusto, Toro, and Gordo. Definitely toggle between the Pita and the Robusto.
Yep.
Same thing with the David P. Ehrlich. I go through the Pita and the Toro.
That's my jam, the David P. Ehrlich.
Yeah.
Mike Bellady, friend of the show, of course. And, yeah.
It's, so the size I had for review is the Robusto. I did critique the in previous episodes the Toro and the Gordo, but in regards to the Pita and the Robusto, your size is a 6x52 in the Robusto.
Mm-hmm.
The wrapper is Dominican, binder is Dominican, the filler is Dominican with some Nicaraguan in it. Complexity, gave it a 7. Flavor and balance, I gave it an 8. Like I said, rating wise, box split all day.
Yep.
Yep. If you want to spring for some cash and have a line of good quality sticks, and if you're into the collecting thing, you could go box worthy for sure.
Yep.
That being said, I did give it a box split. It's a great stick. every time I have this stick, what?
Yeah. Are you gonna say you get a different experience?
That's how I started. It's
that's where I'm at with the Imperia. Every time it's a different, enjoyable experience. I would say.
And then I shouldn't say frequently or infrequently that I have a cigar where the sizes really do matter. They're really all different. You know,
I think in particular, across the board, all the offerings from MLB, the sizes all play equally. For me, they're all equally enjoyable. Normally, we talk about having that bell of the ball, one particular size jumps out, speaks to you, and I've had an enjoyable experience with all sizes, all sizes across all four. So they're doing something right over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I just, you when you're looking for a description, I mean, I could have it now, and you could sit here and watch me smoke it for an hour, and I could describe it, and then I could have another size, and you really do get 4 different experiences with all of the different sizes. My size, I like to toggle with because I think that the strength of the flavor is within that Robusto size and within that Pita size. Toro, to me, it's kind of there. Gordo, it's trying to get there.
I got you.
You know what I mean? But again, it's just a great stick. I gave it a box split.
Solid. Next to me, actually, my next two were in the Matilde range. Matilde Quadrata, which I think you reviewed a couple shows ago.
Last week.
Okay.
Is that the orange?
Yes.
Yep.
Ecuadorian Habano, Dominican Binder, Nicaraguan, and Dominican Filler. I smoked the Robusto 5 1/4 by 50. $8.50 price point. 3 sizes available. 20 count box. The third release from Jose Sejas, and it was like a little chocolate bar. That's when I unwrapped it. I'm like, I'm really gonna enjoy this. And box press format, wood, leather, chocolate, and coffee notes. Made at the Tabacalera Palma factory in DR. Medium stick, and this is a solid 5 for me. Enjoyable stick, and where were you at?
I gave it a 5.
Okay.
Although I did make reference that you had to push the stick, and what I meant by that is that with the Matildes, in my opinion, again, it's my opinion, you really have to slow down the stick. If you're doing it while golfing or doing it while you might be preoccupied, you might be missing what the nuances there.
I gotcha. Yep.
And so I did make reference on the last episode that you really have to push the stick to get those flavors. Now there's no testament to how the stick was made or anything like that. You just really need to slow down.
Just off the cuff, I wouldn't advise smoking this on the golf course. Or we are in between. I echo those sentiments as well. You want to be tabled in a seat and really just get into it for that that hour and a half. For sure. I was in a business meeting on Friday next door with a client, and I had one stick, and it was a smaller size. It wasn't a Robusto, it was a Toro size, and my client had 2. And it was amazing how over the past couple of weeks, personally, I have slowed down my stick approach, I guess. Right.
You know what I mean? And from trying to break out the nuances, and the client's like, "You all right? Like, are you gonna stay here for another?" Because the client was like checking like my time frame.
Right.
Like even if you get together with a friend and a friend starts to stick before you or whatever.
Yep.
If you're continuing a conversation, you wanna you judge it by what they're smoking. Oh, maybe I'll just get a Robusto or something like that. My client was like, I'm gonna get another one. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. And it took me till the end to just thoroughly enjoy the original stick.
It certainly wasn't one of those sticks that give that flavor profile in the beginning and then steadily ride it through. This is one of those that kind of each one of those flavor components kind of popped as you're going through. Boom, boom, boom. It was like it marched out in unison, and all right, there it is. Boom, there it is. You could almost like, you know, and I I didn't do any prior homework to it, as most of the time I like to just experience and, you know, see where I'm at, see what kind of pops out through each stick, and it was each one of those flavor points kind of popped. But you would miss it if you didn't give it that proper time. You try to smoke, you know, like you said, a little quick. So yeah, you want to give it one, you know, proper time. Table yourself for a good hour and a half, and see what you get out of it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm doing that subconsciously or what I'm doing differently now.
I think so. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think sometimes that the cigar will dictate your smoking experience, where you're at. Now, maybe we're more akin to it now. You know, I like to think so. But as you're smoking it, you're going through, and it was just one of those sticks that needed the time. Needed the time to properly, you know, enjoy and formulate it where you're at. Yeah,
absolutely.
The Matilde Quadrata. Yep.
My final stick I had was the Polita 60th Anniversario. I had the Robusto. That is a 5x50. The wrapper is Negrito. And I did some research. You know what Negrito is?
Fill me in.
The Negrito is a certain part that, I guess, in the words of Tony Mendez from our previous thing, is undescribable. Right?
Tony
is undescribable. That being said, that was from my research, right? But that being said, the binder is Nicaraguan Criollo 98. The filler has some Colombian, some Dominican, some Nicaraguan, and some Pennsylvanian in it.
Oh, wow.
For the fillers.
Yep.
Complexity, I gave it a 7. Flavor, I gave it an 8. Balance, I gave it a 7. Good stick. I actually had this in 2 sizes. I had the Robusto, 5x50. Had the experience to have it in the Toro, which is a 6x54. Respectively, they're in the $11.70 price point, Rhode Island prices, so give or take.
Yep.
A couple cents here or there per cap tax. Every time I had this stick, I expected it to do something, and it didn't do anything. But it didn't stink. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like a terrible stick. It just like you kind of taste the nuances, and you're like, oh, wow, I think it's going here. But then it's like, and it kind of leaves you hanging.
Stay the course, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
My guess is the Colombian, Dominican, Nicaraguan, and Pennsylvanian gig that's going on in there. You know what I mean? It's a solid 5er.
Yep.
You know, you can get these sticks. I only know of 2 shops that really have them locally for us.
Yeah, I haven't tried one of those yet.
You know, but it's a good stick. That was the Polita 60th Anniversario.
Okay. Last for me was the Matilde Oscuro, Mexican San Andreas wrapper, Sumatra binder, Dominican, Nicaraguan, and USA filler. Smoked the Corona 5.5 by 44, $7.50 price point. 3 sizes, box of 20. Earth, coffee, hay, and pepper. Was able to extract. Burned and smoked perfectly. The owner, Jose Sejas, again, with sons Enrique and Ricardo. Enrique was up here in the area not too long ago. Was able to grab one off him.
Did you run into him?
Great dude. Yeah. Yeah, the event nearby at Paul Joyle's.
Oh, yeah.
And
I ran into him at a local shop.
Nice dude.
Hi, I'm Enrique. We know who you are. we know, sir. You know, it's like, you know, we know who you are.
You know, the guy's a legit cigar guy. Yeah, he just
total down to earth guy.
Yep.
Pleasure to meet.
Wealth of knowledge, and I'm huge on the Matilde Serena. That's absolutely one of my favorite sticks. Smoke in the morning all the time, and he knew that, and he dropped this in my hands. And medium plus in strength, made in the DR, released in 2015. And the Matilde Oscuro is an absolute box split for me. The green label just it spoke to me, man. The flavors were bouncing around the entire time. very enjoyable, and certainly with that price point of $750, you can't beat it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a go-to.
Had an interesting conversation with Enrique. You're Joe from Stogie Geeks. Yes. Which Joe are you? I said, well, which one? What do you mean? He goes like, are you the one that likes the sticks or the one that always has a butt? I was like, well, and then Brian, we're over at Churchill's, and Brian goes, oh, he's definitely the one that always has a butt. A butt. You know what I mean? So they're out there watching.
Yeah.
You know, we're out there watching.
So I had the pleasure meeting him probably about 2 years ago now at another event. And, yeah, that Serena for me is still go-to. Bought a box right there at the event. I'm probably 2 or 3 boxes in at that Corona size of the Serena. But the Matilde Oscuro is also right in the talks. Mm-hmm. I slot it, right in the tool hole for them. Solid.
Well, we got some quick programming notes. Our next Stogie Geeks official episode will be filmed on January 8th, as we will be taking the Christmas and New Year's, since they fall on a Monday, for you, the Stogie Geeks listener, as Christmas and New Year's fall on that day. So that is what's going on behind the scenes there. So episode 257 will be just after the first of the year. So I wanted to make you aware of that. However, I would go to StogieGeeks.com and I would log on to our Facebook page. I am hoping to make an announcement pre-January 8th about some of the things that are happening for the first quarter for Stogie Geeks. Here in some of the excursions that we have planned.
Oh, exciting times, Joe. Can't wait.
But I'm hoping to get a quick 5-minute video with the crew between now and January 8th to give some of the announcements. So you do want to stay tuned to the Facebook page. But that being said, on behalf of Stogie Geeks, I want to wish you guys this sentimental for me.
Yep.
Because next time I come on, will be past my year anniversary as co-host.
Solid.
For Stogie Geeks. I didn't get a pink slip or anything else like that, right? So I have strong reason to believe.
We've earned our keep. You're saying, all right?
So don't worry, you're gonna get a chance to say goodbye and stuff like that too, right? I have strong reason to believe that I will be here January 8th. And through 2018, but it's been a very interesting year for me personally. It's been a great journey. I want to thank Paul and his staff for, number one, allowing us to talk to you and share our passion for that on behalf of myself. And I want to thank the Stogie Geeks listeners for emailing me. And for engaging in conversation and keeping the conversation going. It's been a great year. I really don't have much to say other than I am looking to a really action-packed 2018 with Stogie Geeks here as the co-host. And I want to take time out, and don't forget, you have your chance to say your thank yous as well. Because we're wrapping up another year, and again, from a business perspective, this is a time of reflection, right? Yep. For all businesses, regardless of the industry. And I just want to say that I have learned so much. I remember my first Stogie Geek episode, which was January 2nd. For those of you who want to track me down, right, was January 2nd, and from then till now, the knowledge, the appreciation, the industry inside and outs that Paul has allowed me to take place as a co-host. It's been just short of awesome. I mean, it's a great opportunity. That being said, so whichever holiday you celebrate, happy holidays to you, Merry Christmas to you, and a very happy and healthy New Year coming from me. Now, Joe D, wrap us up.
I want to thank absolutely all the viewership and the feedback. Everyone's been phenomenal. This has been beyond all my expectations as a co-host and phenomenal experience. I want to thank Paul for the opportunity, the amazing crew that we have behind the scenes that keep the ship afloat over here, all the amazing guests, and the opportunity to lead to varying other experiences from episode 221 on. To go back, Paul had just tagged me in from the bullpen. I had split my jeans 2 seconds before that, so if you go back and see that episode, I'm cheating myself to the side. Nobody wants to see that on camera. I was nervous and very uncomfortable, but certainly found my skin, my comfort level, and what an amazing experience. And we have got a big year ahead, tremendous episodes and guests lined up, and happy to keep it going, man.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
It's been great. Like I like I said, when it comes to this industry, I am very seldomly speechless. But like I said, it's been a privilege and an honor to co-host Stogie Geeks for a full year for 2017. Definitely looking forward to 2018. And with that being said, all I have to say is Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We'll see you next year. Thank you.
Thank you.